Hello and welcome into my latest live broadcast. My name is Kerry Holzman, and thank you all for joining me today. Today is, what is today? Tuesday, October 16th. Does that sound about right? I think that sounds right. Oh man, October's just flying by. Let me just check and make sure everybody can see and hear me okay before we go forward with today. It's obviously, it's live and everything always gets reconfigured. And I have to, every day, I have to reconfigure things because this is not a permanent studio as much as I would like it to be. In front of me, I've got two different cases. We're going to talk about this here in just a moment. Let me say hello to some folks. Jesse Kirk, hello Jesse. Thomas Carter, Michael C, Keith W, Angry Dad, 1969. These are all my wrenches. Hello to my wrenches. Are you ratchet? No, you're wrenches. Who else we got in here? Colin Hilton, hi Colin. Paul Baxter. Did I get all my wrenches? Where are my wrenches at? Scotty 1D, Irving T. Hey Irving, always good to see Irving. Irving joins us from France. Colin joins us from the UK. We have people all over the world watching, and it's just so cool. And of course, to all my regular viewers, who I hope to one day make each and every one of you a moderator. It's just based on if I recognize your name, I see you're a frequent contributor in the chat room, and you're not a troublemaker. You support people. You don't challenge them. These are the kind of people I'm looking for to turn them blue. I'd love to turn you blue. Alistair Gregg, Stephen Barber. Hey guys, Douglas Biggers. Douglas joins us all the way from Alaska. From Alaska to the UK to France, and here I am in beautiful, cloudy Phoenix, Arizona. My good buddy over at Silverstone, his name's Tony. Tony said, listen, I understand you're looking for a replacement for the Corsair 200R. Would you let me send you a couple of cases? I said, Tony, I've looked at these cases online. I don't think they're going to meet my needs. And since I don't think I'm going to be kind, probably best you don't send them. But you're welcome to send me anything at any time, and I will gladly review it, because I could be wrong. I'm basing my assumption on what I'm reading online. I'm reading the specs, I'm looking at the pictures, and maybe they'll be different in person. He says, you're gonna love these cases. I'm gonna send you two versions of the same case. One has a case window, one doesn't. This one also has holes up on the top, like for a radiator to go in. This one doesn't. This one has foam padding on the side panels to make it quieter. This one doesn't. So this is more of a gaming basic build. This is what we call an entry-level case. They're the same model number, PS11. I think this is a Q for quiet. I think this is a W for window. I've got links to these cases at Amazon in the video notes below this video. And we're gonna get right out the gate with something I don't like, and that is the gauge of metal that's being used on these cases. Now let's emphasize these are entry-level cases. That being said, so is the Corsair 200R, and the gauge of metal on this, it's very lightweight. And because it's lightweight, it can be easily tipped over and easily dented. So that's right out of the gate something I do not like. I wish they would have used a slightly thicker gauge of metal. I don't know how much you can see how easily it's just not good how much flex there is. Too much flex in the case. But let me counter that with something good. Corsair 200R, if I had a single complaint, it would be, or my first complaint, I'll find something wrong with something, would be the feet on the bottom of the Corsair 200R. The feet are rubber feet that are glued, and they just fall off. They also don't give me much clearance between, on a Corsair 200R, this clearance is not as good on a 200R. So Silverstone has better clearance, and I like these feet better. Look how tall these feet are, if you can see. And it's a real proper foot versus just a rubber sticky pad. So kudos to Silverstone for that. The higher up we can get the case, the better the breathing room we can get under here, the better for your power supply. If the case is designed, as these are, for the power supply to be mounted on the bottom. There is no included box of screws like there is with a regular case, not a regular case, like in every case I've ever used, except for really cheap cases, they have a little box or a container in the case that contains all the screws you need. When you get cheap cases, now look, the marketing companies like to say entry level, they like to say budget. Let's just call it what it is. It's cheap. In the instruction bag, they throw the screws. It's nice that they also include some zip ties. You normally don't get that on a cheap case. I can tell you right off the bat, this is the worst quality Silverstone case I've ever witnessed. I think Silverstone should change the name of this. It's okay if you want to build these budget cases really cheap, but don't dilute your brand name. You know, call it something else. Why would you? Silverstone is so well respected in the industry for quality cases. You know, Antec did the same thing. And here's what happens to a customer. A customer calls us, what case manufacturer do you recommend? Now, if I say Corsair, every case Corsair makes is, as far as I'm concerned, high quality case. Even their budget cases are high quality. If I say Silverstone, then I have to specify some Silverstone. Because if you're going to confuse your brand by offering both quality and cheap cases, I think you need to spin off one or the other. For example, Honda and Toyota and Nissan have a high-end version of their cars, but they don't call them Honda and Toyota and Nissan. They call them Infiniti and Acura and who's the other one? Infiniti, Acura. And you know, Ford has Lincoln. You sort of have your higher end, and you give it a different brand so you don't confuse, and you know if you want the best, you want this brand. And I think Silverstone has already established themselves as the best. So rather than dilute that reputation by making a cheaper case out of cheaper materials, they should have called it something else. Pewterstone. I don't know. Just call it, don't dilute your brand. It doesn't make any sense. And how can I tell a customer, you should, yeah, Silverstones are good cases to buy. They're high quality cases. They're not all high quality. These are built to a budget, okay? You do get what you pay for here. I would gladly pay a couple dollars more for the exact same case without it being so flexible and thin. That's just me. When they're so light like this, they're easily tipped over. When this is sitting underneath a customer's desk and the motherboard and all the weight's on one side of the case, it doesn't take much to just flip it onto its side. That's where a heavy case, a good, not heavy, but a heavier gauge metal of the case is so important. Now, I'm not quite sure what these sell for. Let's take a quick look on Amazon what the current pricing structure is on the Silverstone PS11 case. I'll tell you what's a little confusing. The documentation said this is a Micro-ATX case. Clearly it is not a Micro-ATX. This is a full ATX case. And I don't understand why Silverstone calls this a Micro-ATX case when you can put an ATX motherboard in it. If you can put an ATX motherboard in it, then you can put a smaller Micro-ATX motherboard in it. But if it's advertised as a Micro-ATX case, then you can't put an ATX because you don't have enough room. You can always go smaller, you can't go bigger. You can't put 10 pounds of something into a 5-pound bag, right? So I'm confused on the marketing behind that. I don't know if it's a mistake or if it's more people are interested in that. I honestly don't know what they're thinking. But let me just take a look here in my video notes. I need to pull my link. Now that I'm trying to find it, I can't find it. And I want to see what these sell for. Remember that Corsair 200R is about $65. You can find it for less, and sometimes has rebates, but let's say 65 bucks. And this case looks like it is $95. Ooh, that's way too much money. Way too much money. No. This case should sell for about no more than $40, and this one should sell for no more than about $40. This is a $40 case all day long. Now, I don't know that that's MSRP. I'm just randomly looking at a price on Amazon, and it's coming from a third-party seller, so they could have that marked up. I'm sure Tony will clarify what the MSRP is on this. Maybe somebody in the chat can confirm that. I'm not even going to look at this case today, the one with the window here. We got to talk about business needs. Business clients, when you're a professional PC technician, you will soon eventually realize money in PC repair, maintenance, and sales is in business. It's not on the home user. Home users are too fickle. They will run a computer for far too long. They will do everything to save a nickel and dime. There's always exceptions to the rule for what I'm telling you. But generally speaking, if you want a sustainable business, you go after other businesses. They will require your services more often, and they don't want case windows or RGB lighting. You will actually be scolded if you were to deliver a machine like that to most computer companies of any size. Barring a single person working out of their house, people don't want that. This is something enthusiasts and gamers want. Businesses have no interest in this. What businesses want is a reliable, quiet case. My preference, and we're going to talk about what my preferences are. I don't like cases that bow out like this. And the reason I don't like that is because when this goes on the floor of the employee's desk, the chair is going to run into it and they're going to kick it accidentally with their feet. And the part that sticks out, there's an old Japanese expression. The nail that sticks out is the one that gets hit with the hammer. I prefer that the case was made a little bit wider and that these would not have this sudden bulge. I don't like the bulge on the case. It's not that it's not attractive, it's that it's not practical. This is done to make room for cable management, and it's done on both sides just to make it symmetrical, because you don't obviously need it on this side. There's nothing behind this. So they should have made the case a little bit wider to accommodate for cable management back behind here so that you wouldn't need to bow the case out like this. It would also reduce the cost of manufacturing. Now this case has no holes in it because this is their quiet edition, and I like that. I want the case to be quiet. You're not going to get a quiet case with a case window. But I'll tell you what I don't like. This power button is one of the cheapest power buttons I've ever seen. It's just a piece of plastic that bends back and forth. How long before that? In Arizona, it's a very dry atmosphere. Plastic in a few years will get brittle. I can guarantee that's going to break off. I promise you that power button is going to break off. Terrible, terrible design there. I like that there's two USB 3.0s and there's a recessed reset button so you can't accidentally press it. And your front port audio is here, and then your power light and hard drive light. Perfect. We have a flat top. Flat top is essential because a customer is going to take like a USB drive and they're going to, here, let me just show you. Let me grab one. I have dozens of customers that do this. They go and they get themselves like, here, this will work. We talk about backups, right? So they go and they get themselves a backup drive. And these little laptop backup drives are some of the best value because you don't have to have separate power. It'll just run right off the USB power. So they're going to put that right up here and they're going to plug it in just like this. This is how customers use their cases. Now, if your USB is down here or across the bottom, remember this is sitting on the floor and it makes it really hard to access. If it's on the side, you end up having this hang. Who wants to hang an expensive and important thing like your backup drive? So the flat top with the USBs towards the top is incredibly important. Now, even if the USB ports were up this way, that's still acceptable. I don't have a problem with that. They've got to be up here. Even if they were on the top side, but the problem with the side is now suddenly I need to have clearance. What if this is up against a wall on this side? Then it limits where you can put the case. So sticking it in the middle at the top is what makes logical sense. Again, this is where the 200R shines. Now, you know, the 200R's power button, what happens with it over time is the paint comes off of it. Now that won't be a problem with the Silverstone because it's not painted, it's just plastic. So this is all the information I can convey to you just by having the case in front of me. Now just wait till I open it up and see what's on the inside. I want to tell you the good with the bad. I don't want to focus on just the bad because this is not a bad case. There's absolutely nothing wrong specifically with the case other than it is below the standard of quality we have come to expect from Silverstone, and it should not say Silverstone on it. That would be like selling a discount car and putting the name Cadillac on it. You know, Cadillac did that. It didn't work well for them, and it damaged the reputation that people come to count on when they buy a Cadillac. And be that as it may, hold on, let me get a Coke, because I'm going to be doing a lot of talking on this video. I know, how unusual. And then I'm going to take the cover off, and we're going to take a look at what's on the inside. Cheers. I see Shane Schellenberger is in the chat. I hope to see you at Second Beat. Yeah, I'm hoping to be there. I consider improv my therapy. So if I'm not there, I'm missing out on therapy, and I need that therapy really bad right now. All right, let's get the cover off of here. Let's see what we got inside. Captured screws. That is good. I like that. So that means you don't have to worry about, when you unscrew it, the thumb screws stay attached. You don't have to lose them, right? That's brilliant. Good job, Silverstone. Foam on the inside of this panel to help deaden sound. As you deaden sound, you also trap heat. So this is not an overclocker's case. However, in a business environment, when you've got the drone of dozens and dozens of computers in a room, the noise levels just become sort of subconsciously, you end up talking louder, and it just gets grating on the mind. So we're really looking for business solutions here. Now looking inside, we've got a filter down below here that, how does this filter come off? It looks pretty cheap. Ew. Oh, wow. Okay, so this is the filter, and there's little metal tabs that it has to slide under. If you've ever stuck a picture in a picture frame. And look, guys, this would have been great 15 years ago, but this should be magnetized. How are you supposed to do this when you've got a full computer full of parts? Do you honestly think a customer can do this with the computer standing up? No way. Absolutely not. This should have been a tray that slides out. It shouldn't even have been magnetized, because even if you magnetized it, you'd still force the end user to have to physically put the computer onto its side and require far too much attention. This is a horrible, horrible design. I would rather there was no filter here than this kind of a filter. I'm just being honest. This is a horrible, horrible design. This is like we've never done a filter before. We don't know how they're supposed to work. If you own this case and you had to deal with this, you'd understand how offensive that is to me. Made in China. Oh, say no more. Everything's explained. Oh, a couple contributions came in. Let me acknowledge those. Let's see. Bordura Catalan has contributed $10. Hello, Carrie. Can Linda install my PC? Perhaps. It is entirely possible. Yes. Ben DeCure, $4.99. Hi, Carrie. Good to see you today. Hope you're doing well. I am. Thank you, Ben and Catalan, for your financial contributions. I appreciate that very much. All right, let's keep talking. Let's keep talking about this case. Looking in the case, we have a very cheap fan. Very cheap fan. We have a toolless design to hold up to 1, 2, 3, 4 hard drives. Excellent design. Good job on that. But who uses hard drives anymore? Where's my SSDs? Well, we got a place for an SSD right here. One place for an SSD, and there's one up here. I guess you take the screw out. This is not a tool-less design from what I can see. You would take a thumb screw, you would insert your 2.5-inch SSD, and then you would have to use the tiny little screws, 4 of them. Now let's compare that to the 200R where you literally slide it and snap it in no differently than this. So bad design, bad. Up here, you've got 2 external ports, potential ports. Now I would rather have these and not need them than the other way around. So this is also a toolless design that will lock in place. Good job. I like the locking mechanism. This is great. Great design. Let's come around the other side. Yeah, this is definitely a full ATX case. Even though it's advertised as Micro-ATX, it does verify that ATX and Micro-ATX will fit, and Mini ITX should also fit in here with these 4 screws right here. So Silverstone's marketing department, I don't know. I guess maybe they've never built a computer before. Maybe they don't use their own product. I'm trying to figure this out, because when you look at an NZXT case, it's pretty clear to me that the people who build NZXT cases build computers in those NZXT cases. They're built for builders, and that's what cases should be built for. Let's come around the back side and take a look at what we've got in our bundle of front port cables. Everything looks pretty standard here, although I'm not quite sure why they made a spaghetti tangle out of this unnecessarily, so let's straighten that out since they couldn't be bothered. Not a big deal. So here's our front switches and LEDs. That's all standard. Yeah, those are long enough. Front port USB 3.0. So this case fan, honestly guys, honestly, just take the fan out. Don't even include it. This is insulting. This is a DC fan. It's not even a 4-pin fan. It was probably the cheapest thing they could have found to put in there. And once again, it says Silverstone, and you are diluting the value of your brand by putting the cheapest thing in to hit a price point. I want you to hit a price point of quality, of best value for the dollar. It seems that there's a disconnect between management of these companies and the customers of these companies. As a customer, and as a customer who buys for businesses, I am giving you very important information that I highly suggest you discuss and weigh in your meetings, in your corporate meetings. That what I am telling you is what I am looking for when I am shopping on behalf of my customers for systems I have to support. It's not because I'm a jerk. It's not because I have preferences to Corsair NZXT. I am absolutely objective, and I know what I need. And I know what my customer, my business customers, I know what my business. Now look, if you don't want to go into the business space, if you just want to go with consumers, that's fine. That's fine. Don't let me tell you how to direct your business. But I'm telling you, just as there's more money in it for a tech to run business, I believe there's more money in it for a case manufacturer to also make business cases. And this comes very, very close. If the gauge of the metal were thicker, that'd be a good start. This has to be improved. There's got to be another way that you can make a better power button that isn't going to break off. This is excellent. This is excellent. The SSDs, my business clients, almost all of them now, are going SSD primarily and then secondarily with HDD. So this should be reversed. This should be all SSDs and then a little add-on for a single hard drive or 2. This would be opposite. And ideally, like the Corsair 200R, if you had 4 3.5-inch drive spaces that are toolless, then you should have 4 2.5-inch drive spaces that are toolless. That would be ideal. This front fan, if you're not going to give me a quality fan, don't give me a fan. All you're doing is giving me a reason to be upset at you when this noise starts up and I'm going to be like, I got to replace the fan. I would rather have no fan than a cheap fan. Also, I would rather have a rear fan than a front fan. Nobody needs a front fan unless you've got a graphics card. If you don't have a graphics card, you don't need it. What everybody does need is an exhaust fan, and especially on a case that has foam insulation and no breathing holes in order to keep the noise down. Getting that air evacuated out of the back is critical. So why did you include a fan here but not here? It should have been the other way around, and it should be a 4-pin fan, a PWM fan. The case should be priced right around the $60 to $80 range with everything I just said. So this is very, very close to being what I'm looking for. That bottom filter, that's a deal breaker. That's it. With that bottom filter, that's so difficult to maintain that. Clearly, nobody at Silverstone has built in this case and has it in their house and has cleaned it. Because if they did, they would be on board with me. They'd say this is really much more difficult than it needs to be. And again, when you put the Silverstone name on this, and I'm going to keep saying this, you are diluting the value of the quality that you are known for. Call it something else. Make up another company name. And make that your budget brand. But don't confuse your budget brand with your name brand. It's a horrible, horrible marketing decision, and it will bite you on the butt. Now, we basically have the exact same case over here. This case has a case window. It's got holes across the top, presumably for a radiator, although I don't know that it's enough height, because a motherboard hole is right here, and that goes right up against the case. So this case would have to be taller to fully accommodate the holes on top, realistically, for a radiator. It's not tall enough. So, well, the meaning is there. You know, it's nice of you to do that. It's pretty pointless. Yes, you could throw a couple fans up there. Maybe it's going to be a very, very tight fit. They're going to excuse all of this by going, it's a budget case. And I'm saying, look, I'd rather have a case that was just a little bit more money that was actually a good purchase than just, I mean, I might as well just use a cardboard box. That can be a case too. I mean, well, it's just a cardboard box. What? Let's slap the name Silverstone on a cardboard. Would you do that? Would you take a cardboard box and look, you just push holes in it and we can put a Silverstone label on it and it's 25 cents. At what point do you realize you're causing harm by trying to hit a price point by skimping on the quality or taking shortcuts? If somebody's first impression of Silverstone is this, what are the odds they're going to come back again? That's why you need a different brand name up front. Interestingly, this has a brand name up front. This one does not. This also appears to come off. This front appears to come off. Let's take a look. There's a room for another fan to cool down if you have multiple mechanical drives here. That's great. This is also padded foam, so it's going to bring in air from the sides. Brilliant design. I like that. This should be exactly the same. That came off real easy. This filter would not come off, obviously. That's acceptable. You don't have to pull the whole computer apart or flip it onto its side and scratch up the window or to get the stupid screen off the bottom. Then that screen is critical. Your computer has to breathe, man. If your computer doesn't breathe, it suffocates. And when it suffocates, you have a failure. And the failure is not because of a bad power supply, but because of a bad case design. And then the bad case design is justified because it hits a certain price point. That should never be a justification for bad case design. You make the case a minimum level of quality, and that is the cheapest it can go, reasonably. Otherwise, you're entering the foray of these cheap Chinese cases that makes you pretty much indistinguishable from some case manufacturer that I've never heard of before that ships out of China that costs half the price. You understand? I'm always going to pay more for a Silverstone name. This case is, based on what I saw on Amazon, way overpriced. Way overpriced. But I don't know that, again, I don't know that's the MSRP. Okay. Overall, it's not a horrible case. And I want to be clear on this. It's not horrible, but it needs improvements desperately, or it needs the Silverstone name removed off of it, because I don't know why anybody in their right mind would ruin a perfectly good, respectable brand name just to go after a little teeny tiny bit of money, because I know there's not a lot of profit in it. What is a better case than this? An NZXT H700 is a good case, H700i. You're not going to have any front panels on it, but it succeeds in cable management. It exceeds in all the other requirements that I want. The Corsair 200R, they're still available for sale. Rumor has it they're discontinuing it. Unfortunately, the 200R has no competitor. So I think it's awfully foolish and short-sighted of Corsair to cancel that case. It has been their #1 case for many, many years. Maybe it has fallen from that top spot, but sometimes things happen in waves. So just because the case isn't selling well is no reason to discontinue it. You need to give it more time. Give it time to escalate back up again. These things happen in waves. Car sales went down for 7 years in a row. Boom, 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 boom. And then all of a sudden, they had the best year they ever had in 10 years. So just because you see a trend, you should not immediately react to it. You should stay the course. You have a case that doesn't need to be fixed. And if it's just not selling right now, then make less of it. Not a big deal. And charge a couple more dollars if that's what you have to do, because you have something nobody else has. Silverstone has a great opportunity, along with NZXT and everybody else, to fill that niche that Corsair is going to leave behind. The Corsair 100R has almost no cable management. It's too small and it's difficult to work on. It's not an equivalent. The 270R is not equivalent. The 200R is very unique in the world of computer cases. And I'm not paid by Corsair, and I'm not paid by any third party whatsoever. These are my opinions. And you know, if you go back to the first time I used a 200R, I was quite skeptical of it. But then the more I used it, the more I started to like it. This is too reminiscent. I've got a build video where I build 14 computers in a day, and I bought the cheapest cases I could find. They were made by Antec. Many of them arrived damaged, and little pieces of them fall apart, and they're easily dented and scratched. They're flimsy and cheap and thin gauge metal. They're rattle boxes because they don't have any substance to them to absorb any vibration. The feet fall off of them. They're just junk. I won't buy them again, and I won't buy Antec again, because that's representative of the kind of quality or care that Antec takes. Then I'm not interested in Antec anymore. And I wouldn't say this for Silverstone, because Silverstone has over 100 cases. But if I didn't know any better, and this was my first experience with Silverstone, I would conclude never again. That said, I want to thank Tony for sending me the cases. I don't have anything to build in them today. And maybe building them will sort of change my perspective a little bit. I don't think it will, because the gauge of steel is what it is. The button is what it is. The fan is what it is. It does look easy to work on. I'll give them that. And I'll put this out there for all of you. If you're interested in having a computer built and you like a Silverstone case, why don't you reach out to me? Let me reach out to my connection over at Silverstone. And it's potentially possible that by asking, they will send us the case you want for free, so that I will film it and review it and build your computer in it. You'll get a free case. I can review a case from Silverstone. And you know, we did this with other manufacturers where customers have gotten free product as a result, whether it was the liquid cooler on the build a few weeks ago, well, I guess it was a couple months now, right? Or if it was, we had the, was it the BitPhoenix Shogun case that was sent because they asked me to review it. And the best way to review it is to use it. I'm not one of these guys that likes to simulate reality. I have no interest in that. My life and my income and my career are not based on simulated reality. They're based on reality. So to build a real computer utilizing the case, I can tell you firsthand from experience an honest review versus speculation, which is what I'm sort of doing right now. I'm sort of speculating the problems I have here and then thinking about what the long term. I've already speculated that button's going to break and that fan's going to go. Those are going to be the first two things case related that happen. Unacceptable at any price, because my labor hourly charge is more than the price of this case. And my my reputation with the customer is going to be broken, because the customer is going to think I sold them something crap, and they're not going to want to order from me anymore. They're not going to care who makes the case. They ordered it from car-ey, and if car-ey sold me something that's junk, then I'm not going to buy from car-ey anymore. He's not trustworthy. So I have to build on my reputation. I can't overcharge a customer, and I can't sell a customer the cheapest thing, or I'll look like I don't know what I'm doing. Would you go to a surgeon who bought the cheapest scalpels? Would you go to a doctor's office or a mechanic and they said, like, let's say the doctor says, like, I can get you a kidney here and it's $150,000, but I know a guy. No, no, this is serious stuff. This is serious, serious stuff. And it shouldn't be taken so lightly. These manufacturers aren't taking their job seriously when they do this. I'm sorry, it's insulting to me that you think that this is okay. It's not okay. Now somebody says, what if that case was $25? Now this is an interesting discussion. And I've shared this story before. I was having lunch in the cafeteria I was a quality control guy at a company called Naga Systems, N-A-G-A. We built computers specifically for CAD and that kind of work. And we were sitting around the warehouse where computers are being built because the Roach Coach pulled up and folks went out there and got breakfast. We all got breakfast. The manager, the guy in charge of the warehouse, is eating, and I'm sitting across from him, like I'm across from you right now. And he says, "This is pretty good bacon and eggs for $3. And that puzzled me. I said, it's good for $3, but it wouldn't be good. So you wouldn't like the bacon and eggs if it was $6? And he kind of stops chewing and he thinks about it and he goes, yeah, that's exactly what I'm saying. My brain can't process that. If something's good, it's good. The price doesn't change the quality of the product. I don't know how else to explain this. If you enjoyed the food and it tasted good to you, the price has nothing to do with it. You could say the quantity, for example, of the food for the price was a good value or a bad value. But whether or not it tasted good has nothing to do with the price whatsoever. Likewise, if this case was $25, I still wouldn't recommend it because it still fails in too many places. I'd rather spend $50 and get a good case than $25 and get a lacking case. Now, some of you are going to say, but Carey, some people can't afford $50. No, you can. You absolutely can. If it's important to you, you'll find a way. And if you don't care, then then buy what you want. I don't care what you buy because I don't have to support you. I'm not the guy getting the phone call when your power button breaks, and I'm not the one whose reputation is damaged when it happens. So you go buy whatever you want to buy. You go buy for your customers whatever you want to buy for your customers because that's a reflection on you, and those are your consequences, not mine. Whew, it's got real serious, didn't it? Are there worse cases than this? Yes, of course. This is not the worst case I've ever seen, but it needs significant improvement before I would use it and put my name on it. That's all I'm saying. It's a nice, you're 80% of the way there, Silverstone. You're 80% of the way there. With 20% improvement, I could easily replace this for the $200 happily. The gauge of steel has to be stronger. This power button issue has to be addressed. That fan needs to be removed, and a rear case fan has to be included, and it should be a 4-pin PWM fan, and you charge me what you need to charge me to get me there. All right. Does anybody have any questions I can answer? Are there any SSD positions on the back? No, no. See what they've done here? The space between the back of the motherboard tray and where the case goes on is like that. That's why the case has to bow out and bulge out to make room for the cable management. That's why that has to happen. They should have made the case a little wider and given me this space back here. This motherboard tray should be recessed this depth so this panel can be completely flat. And then the option for SSDs to go back here would then be available. But if you put an SSD in there now, there'd be no way. There's no place for it. Well, I take that back. With the bulge, supposedly, I suppose it would be possible, although the case is not designed for it. They could have designed the case for an SSD, back here, which would have been a great idea. But the problem with the bulge is it's not bulged all the way around. So at some point you're going to hit this flat part. So that's why these cutouts are here, so you can get your cables in there before they hit the flat part. It's just a hassle. If you would have just recessed if you'd extended the width of the case by the depth of the bulge, suddenly the cable management isn't as critical and as detailed. You absolutely have to use these cutouts or you're going to pinch your cables and you're going to short something out and it's going to be a bad day. What case did you use before the 200R? I used a lot of aluminum-based Leon Lee cases for a while. They were $100 a piece. Very solid construction. Many of my customers still use that case today. They don't have front port USB 3, they only have front port USB 2. But my customers, when we upgraded them recently, they said, we're fine, we don't need the USB 3. We want to keep the cases. So I would get a little USB 3 to 2 adapter cables. So, no, I take it back. It's the other way around. They're USB 2 and all motherboards have USB 2. So we just didn't utilize the USB 3 header on the motherboard. Customers happy. They've had those cases over 10 years now. I probably used the Leon Lee something 99. I can't remember what it was called. I used those a lot for customers that could afford them. Before that, I was buying locally at a computer parts distributor, and their inventory constantly changed. So I used a lot of InWin and Antec cases, whatever was available at the time. I won't do that anymore. And that's before the days of cable management. Cases were much, much different back then. So, yeah. Carrie, I just built a Z370 gaming Wi-Fi with an Intel i7-87, 132 gigs of RAM. And when I turn it on, all I get is a red light flashing. What can I do? That's a tough one. I would take out all of the memory except one stick. I would verify that your 24-pin and your CPU 8-pin or 4-pin CPU power connector are fully seated and in the right direction. Unplug them and plug them back in again. Pull and disconnect anything that doesn't need to be on the motherboard. Any additional cards you've added. Video card, pull it all. Run off the onboard video with bare minimum. And beyond that, you can visit www.techguy.org for free technical support. Carrie, can you review the Cooler Master Masterbox Lite 5 RGB case? I'm happy to review any case that is provided to me, either by the customer or by the manufacturer. The YouTube money I make costs me money to make these videos, and I'll be damned if I'm going to go and spend money to buy a case because a viewer asked me to. If you provide the case to me, no problem. I'll be happy to review any product you want to send to me that's computer or tech related, but don't think that I'm gonna, like I have some weird way. I have no way to get the case any more than you do. So what you see on my channel is real. I'm not like these other tech YouTubers. Everything I do is real work for real customers that I'm held accountable and responsible for. There's no sponsorships. None of that's happening. So I want you to please keep that in mind. Creamy Corn Cob, what a great name. I desperately need a case. I built my PC on a piece of wood. It looks nice, but I need a case badly. I have nice gear, but no case. Yeah. These cases are about $55. So that puts it right around the same price range as the $200, and I think the $200 is better built for the money. Carrie, for a long time we were using the Antec Earthwatts. Do you still recommend Antec power supplies? No. I now suggest and recommend Corsair, EVGA, and Seasonic, and nobody else. From Russia with love, can I have that blue spanner? 1,000 rubies? Is it a ruby? I don't even know what that is. I gotta convert that to US dollars. I don't know what you've just given me. rubles. That's $15.31. 1,000 rubles is $15.31. Thank you for your contribution. That came from Zoom, XUM. Thank you, Zoom. Can I have the blue spanner? What is a blue spanner? Oh, he wants moderator status. Spanner is a wrench. Absolutely, Zoom. Thank you. Rubies. I'm American. What do I know? Thank you, Zoom. I was trying to think what thank you is in Russian. I know it. Why isn't I can't remember what the... Somebody can remind me in the chat. I'll know it when I see it. Zoom says, thank you for all the knowledge and entertainment. Hey, thank you for watching. Appreciate it. What's the Russian word for thank you? Creamy Corn Cob says, maybe I can take you up on the deal for the case review. I would absolutely love that. Yeah, sure. You can reach me. By either connecting with me on Facebook or go to tech-vets.com and you'll see on the right side my name and Mike Smith's name, and it says contact us or email us, and that's how you can reach me if you want to start a dialogue about getting moving on that. I very much would like that. Spasiba? That doesn't sound right. Geekazoid Tech, hi Dan. He says, take it easy. I just stopped in to say hello. All right, always good to see you, buddy. Hopefully we'll see you again soon. Blagadaru Vas. Wow, that's not what I thought it was. Spasiba. I don't know how to pronounce it. Can anybody spell that phonetically for me? The Seasonic Prime 650 watt, fully modular, 80 plus titanium, and it bought in February, is going to be my PSU for the next decade. Yeah, it's a good power supply. You should definitely get a good long life out of it. Mike Ladd has contributed $10. He says, I always appreciate your channel. Thank you, Carrie. Well, thank you, Mike. Legend has it that Mr. Holzman, Bitwit, Kyle, and Paul worked together on Newegg. Still keeping in touch with them. I had Paul on the radio show I did a long time ago. Spasiba. Techvets.com? It's tech-vets.com. 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 Okay, so what was I talking about a minute ago? Oh, the guys at Newegg. We never really established any brotherhood. He did his job, I did mine. I guess there wasn't really any... I like Paul. I don't know that Paul felt the same way, so that relationship never flourished. I wouldn't be opposed. Let me make something very perfectly clear to everybody. The only reason you don't see me collaborating with any other YouTubers is other YouTubers don't want to collaborate with me. I have reached out to several and have simply been ignored or have been told I'm too busy. So I am more than happy to work with almost anybody. And I will say, I made an early judgment. You guys had asked me a question about a long time ago about, the repair. Eli, the computer guy, says the repair business is dead. And I took a look at the video you guys sent. And I skimmed through a couple of his other videos at that time. And I said, this guy's not in the business anymore. He doesn't work in the business anymore. And if he's been out of the business more than a couple of years, then he's fallen behind. And his inability to generate revenue doesn't mean the repair business is bad. It means he's got a bad attitude. But then last night, I stumbled on some of Eli's more current videos, and I went, holy smokes, this guy's just like me. Like, he's talking about business the way I talk about business. He's talking about how, he's like, what's this RGB? And he's like overanalyzing it, and is it some sort of weird backup storage solution? He's got all the business mindset. And then he finds out it's lights. He's like, are you kidding me? It's lights? How do I turn that crap off? Amen, brother. Amen. I misjudged you. He's a little rough around the edges, and he's brutally honest, and he doesn't care. He still insists on calling himself a professional technician. I have a little problem with that. Just by very definite, like if you were going to court to be an expert witness, to be defined as an expert, you have to be in a field being paid for a minimum of 7 years. Not 30 years ago. This business moves very rapidly. And so just because you used to do something and you don't do it anymore, I don't think it's fair to call yourself that. You can say you're a former professional tech. But if you're not getting paid to fix computers anymore, if you're not being held liable and accountable for the work, then you used to be a professional tech. Now you're a YouTube creator. And I think he knows more about YouTube creation currently than he knows about the policies, procedures, and laws and everything that have changed since the last time he's been in a paid corporate job and have been held responsible. See, you don't know what you don't know. He's assuming, he's making an assumption that because that was his expertise, that he's still an expert. This is a rapidly evolving career. The technology is always changing, and I think he would be shocked if he were to go into a place like Intel and he took his previous experience and his expectations. I think he'd realize less than half of his experience applies anymore. It's all changed that rapidly. Now, that being said, he can call himself whatever he wants. I don't care. He's following a similar story as mine. We both started as techs. We both have moved into YouTube. We both are concerned that by putting our eggs in YouTube, what happens if we lose YouTube? What happens if YouTube pulls the rug out from under us anytime, any day, for any reason? Where's our income coming from? And Eli's talking about going into tech education. We're following the exact same paths. He's blunt and rough around the edges. I'm blunt and rough around the edges. He calls it as he sees it. I call it as he's probably actually a little gentler than I am. So I misjudged. I sort of, based on the limited information on the question that I got, I was a little upset that some guy is calling himself a tech and is telling me the PC repair business is dead and he's not worth listening to. Well, I was wrong. He's worth listening to. And he's a lot like me. And that being said, I reached out to him and I haven't heard anything, but I just did it last night. So maybe he'll respond. I'd love to do something together with him. We seem like two peas in a pod. I misjudged him. What is your honest opinion and thoughts about an all-in-one desktop? An all-in-one desktop is nothing more than a laptop. That's all it is. They're very difficult to work on. They are confined using proprietary parts that you can get only from the manufacturer. You can't shop around for a better price. They're very difficult to work on. They're very limited in what you can do to upgrade them. You're not going to change a video card or even getting a power supply is going to be a challenge. The amount of RAM you could add and the amount of storage you can add, just like a laptop. That's it. It's a laptop, and it comes with all the sacrifices that laptops come with, along with, of course, the added cost for the micronization of the components, the customization of the components to fit within this micro form factor. And if it's something you need, then the sacrifices are worth making. If it's something you don't need, why would you make those sacrifices? You could pay less and get a machine that's fully upgradable, fully repairable, with fully modular components. And you're not going to build your own all-in-one. So you're basically getting whatever they made, and you got to live with it. I'd much rather apply my money more to hardware components that I need. Maybe I need more storage and more RAM and not so fast of a processor, or the opposite. Or maybe I want a cheaper graphics card, but I want to upgrade it later. I like the options and the growth, that I can grow into something and it can grow with me. Laptops and all-in-ones don't grow. They are what they are, and they will never be anything other than that. And when they break, you might as well just throw them away. They're just disposable. At any price, they're disposable. So always buy an extended warranty on a laptop or an all-in-one. Normally, I would tell you avoid extended warranties that are ripoff. But the minute your laptop or your all-in-one goes out of warranty, it'll probably cost you more to fix it, assuming they even fix it right. You'll be without it, and when you go get it, or they deliver it back to you, if they didn't fix it right, it's going back again. Or if outside of the repair warranty, which is usually 30 to 90 days, it breaks again, more money and more waiting. Just buy a new one, get that extended warranty, and when that extended warranty expires, if anything happens to it, just buy a new one. If you build your own computer, you'll never be in that situation. Those are my thoughts. Mike Ladd says, thanks for the Acronis video. It made my last 2 jobs very easy. Yeah, the folks, it's funny, I've been with Acronis, I've been writing about and talking about Acronis for longer than any employee at Acronis I've ever talked to has been employed at Acronis. So I recently had a discussion with a PR person from Acronis, and I had to let them know, I covered this product in 2009. Here's a copy of the article I wrote 10 years ago. Just to let them know, you don't have to talk to me like I'm a journalist. I'm a tech. I've been using your product way, way back, and even wrote about it in Trade Magazine, several trade magazines actually. Because the parent company I wrote the article for owns several, and they published different versions of my article. Didn't even tell me they did it. And then when that happened, Acronis saw it and reached out. This was all done without Acronis's knowledge. I just wrote it because I wanted to, because I liked the product. And then the person I had contacted at Acronis, we had a good relationship, and they left. And then I wasn't handed off to anybody. So I continued to use the product and continued to talk about it, and they just remained unaware because the person who was aware left. So now they're aware again, and I sort of catching them up to, this is my history with your company. That's how strongly I believe in this product. And again, I'm running a business, and I have to have strong, reliable, reputable products because that's a reflection on me. If I was a surgeon, think about it. If I have crappy tools, you're going to think I'm a crappy surgeon. But maybe I'm a really good surgeon doing the best I can with crappy tools. So I don't want to deal with crappy tools. I want good tools. Good tools make me look better. Remember that. Guys, I got to turn some air conditioning on in here. It is just too hot. I know it's mid-October, but my goodness. It says my house is 74 degrees Fahrenheit, and I find that hard to believe because it feels like it's 80. But it might be because I'm under all these lights and having all this caffeine. All right, let's take a look. We got any other questions here? Where's my mouse? Oh, is William Bailey in the chat room? Hey, Carrie, the computer arrived today. Great packing. I had to order a wireless keyboard and mouse before I fire it up. That's awesome. I did get the email notification. It wasn't scheduled to arrive until the end of the day tomorrow. I was surprised. First thing this morning, I saw FedEx said it was delivered. William Bailey is the gentleman who ordered the computer that I was shipped to Oregon. Remember, I had the Australian computer and the Oregon computer. So that's William. And I think you're really going to enjoy that computer. I think it's going to be the best computer you ever owned. And then Australia is sitting right over there. And I still got to make some phone calls to like DHL and find a cheaper shipping option. Federal Express wanted about $1,200 to ship to Australia from Phoenix. It would take 15 days estimated, and that doesn't include any tariffs or taxes upon its arrival. And the owner of the computer said, if that's what I got to pay, that's what I got to pay. And I said, well, let's hold off a couple days. Let me make a few phone calls. I should be able to get it for half that price, less than half. I think the shipping for a 50-pound box that's 24-inch cubed should be about $500, somewhere in that ballpark. I think FedEx doesn't want to deliver there. Look, when there's a job you don't want to do, don't turn it away, just raise the price really high. I think that's what FedEx has done there. And FedEx made it clear to me that they're happy to box it up for me, and then I can take it to DHL. But DHL may offer the similar service. Nicholas Gibson says, thanks for everything you do. Stay strong. Thank you, Nicholas. John Bluenose says, hey, Carrie, you're a very wise person, and you help me more than you think with your vids. Oh, that's very kind of you, John. Appreciate that. William Dawson says, you would have been friends with my father. He was a lot like you. Nice. I'll take that as a compliment. Creamy Corn Cob says, I'm in Oregon too. Well, Vancouver, Washington, which is just over the river from Portland. Yep. This is a little geographical lesson there for everybody. Do you recommend Cougar cases? No. William says, I know I'm going to love the new PC. Awesome. Rich Robbins is letting me know that he received my email and has emailed me back. I'm just looking through comments, guys. I'm just looking to see if I missed any questions here. This is a good time to post any questions you have while I'm doing this. There's about a 90-second delay between what I say and when you hear it. Gamers Nexus makes serious content. I agree. Steve Wilkes over there at Gamers Nexus. I definitely admire the work and the objectivity that he brings. Needs a haircut. But other than that, I have made offers to work with these folks. And generally speaking, I don't get emailed back. They don't reach back out to me. So, maybe if you guys talk to them about it, I'm not the one. I'm not the obstacle in the way here. But I'm not going to beg and plead. I think it'd be fun. But it's got to be the right pairing too. Like, it's okay that you don't agree with somebody as long as you're not somebody who's going to take it personally. I think a guy like Eli, the computer guy, I think I can tell him honestly, you know what, I don't consider you a pro because, from what I gather, you stopped working many years ago to make YouTube videos. So you're a pro YouTube creator. And I think Eli would say, well, I don't care what you think. That's great. As long, don't judge me on it. Don't say, I don't like you because you don't agree with me. Whether or not you agree with me shouldn't determine whether or not we're going to be friends or whether or not we can work together. You should be able to respect each other's opinion. I respectfully disagree. And here's what I think honestly about what you're doing. Great. Because at the end of the day, I'd rather have somebody who's honest with me and isn't afraid to talk to me than somebody who's just going to nod his head and then turn around and say things about me behind my back. That's not a person I want to be friends with. I want somebody to feel close enough to me that they can be honest, that they don't have to hide. And there may be a misinterpretation, and then give me an opportunity to clarify that. And after I've clarified it, if it doesn't change their mind, then we'll agree to disagree and we can move on to other topics. I think technically, Eli and I would work well together if we were co-workers in a corporation. We have strong work ethics. We take a lot of pride in our work. I gather that I don't know. I just gather that. I get that impression from Eli. He's not just a clock watcher like some of these help desk people that answer phones. They're not, their heart's not in it. They don't want to be there, and the quality of their work sucks. I bet you the quality of Eli's work is similar or better than the quality of my own work. So, Barnacle-y's Nerdgasm, his channel, he's blunt, he's honest. I love that. Steve Wilkes, Gamers Nexus, very objective, very well spoken. Needs a haircut. Did I mention he needs a haircut? He can have his hair any way he wants it. Stick it in a ponytail or something. Come on, man. Anyway, who else? Eli, the computer guy, blunt, honest, not a sellout. Eli is definitely not a sellout. Barnacle-y's is not a sellout. Gamers Nexus is not a sellout. Everything I've seen about them is they all have integrity, and that's very important to them. And I think that's the main draw for me is integrity. It's like, I firmly believe in what I am doing, and it doesn't matter if you agree with it or you don't, because I'm the one doing the work. I'm the one held accountable for it, not you. And I respect that. Versus somebody who just sells to the highest bidder, and you're now my new best friend. I can't get on board with that. There's too many people like that. So folks with the integrity in the tech business on YouTube are like finding diamonds. So Barnacle-y's, Eli's, Gamers Nexus, these are diamonds. I found Paul's Hardware, to be very honest and very open as well. I like Paul. Paul doesn't come from a business place of experience as a technician, but as a YouTube creator and as a tech enthusiast, he's very, very good. Linus Tech Tips. He was a technician maybe a long time ago. What he is now, he's a YouTube content creator, and he's very, very good at that. So I just want to make sure that you guys understand the difference between a real working technician and a YouTube content creator. I do both. I work as a tech in the real world, and I share real experiences and real builds and real repairs here on YouTube. I'd like to see more of that. But honestly, if everybody was doing it, I wouldn't want to do it anymore. The whole purpose I do this is because I feel it needs to be done. It's a big part of reality, and YouTube seems to be averse to reality. I don't know why, but that just seems to me to be my opinion. And I think reality is important. Because, the people like to use this expression at the end of the day, or when push comes to shove, or for what it's worth. That's what gets the bills paid. That's what keeps the world moving, industry and trade, buying and selling. That's real. And you could buy all the virtual food you want. It isn't going to fill your belly. Through here. And by the way, the names I'm mentioning are just names that are coming off the top of my head. They're by no means nobody was omitted on purpose, but these are just the names that come to the top of my head. Those are the ones that rise in this moment while I'm speaking. There's no sort of slight intended to anybody I didn't mention who also fits that. Those are just examples that unscripted came to the top of my head. Barnacle-y's is in the hospital right now for a blood clot, and he is scared. Well, blood clots can be scary things. They can lead to quite harmful or death. So, but the good news is he's in the hospital. So if you're going to have a blood clot, that's where you want to be. You don't want to ignore it. So he's in the right place, and we'll put our best wishes out to him, and I'm sure he'll be fine. He's a fighter. Carrie, thank you for not growing the neck beard. I have OCD, so to have something on my face that I can see out of the corner of my eye, it moves in the wind and stuff, dust or dog hair or food gets stuck in it. I can be walking around and not know that. It has to be washed and maintained and combed and trimmed. Not for me. In fact, my sister thought I was going a little bald back here, but I think I've always had a calic where my hair all moves one side, and I think that's what it is. But I assure you that when it'll happen, when all that back hair goes away, there's no Donald Trump come over. I'm shaving it all off. It's all coming off. I just hope I have a properly shaped head for that day. But in the meantime, I think I have a pretty good head of hair for a 50-year-old guy. I'll take it. What about Austin Evans? I haven't seen enough of Austin Evans to have any opinion about him. Brytech. How can I forget Brytech? Brytech is an excellent technician. He works and is held accountable and responsible for the work that he does. And then he also makes YouTube videos, very similar to me. Brytech and I often don't agree on things, but I still consider him not only a peer, but a good friend, even if Brian doesn't like it. Too bad. I like you whether you like it or not, Brian. So you just better get used to the idea. Irving in France says, I know your answer about shipping to Australia, so France will be the same. It's too much for me. What a shame for me. Yeah, that doesn't even include, like I say, the taxes. Rubicon says, I'm 36 and you got more hair than I do. Hey, look, you work with what you got, man. You know, I'm a little self-conscious when I've had the same barber for 20 years, I think. And I'll say, well, every time I go there, I see more and more gray. And I said, at least I got my hair. But then I realize he's bald and what he has left is gray. And I'm like, oh, I should have thought about that before I said it. But he's got a good sense of humor. It's all good. According to Barnacles' Twitter, they found the clot, waiting for the doctor to come consult with me on treatment. That's good. Very good. When will you finish yesterday's PC? That's back there, over there. That's yesterday's PC behind me. I put the mechanical drive in it last night. I forgot about that. I put that in. I still have the Wi-Fi card to install. I still have to activate the operating system with the product key that the customer sent, make sure that that works. Download the updates, download the drivers, do the configuration the customer wants, do the cable management. I'll try and work on it tonight. It'll be off camera, and then when it's done, I'll fire it up. I'll show you guys the final product, but you got the gist of it. The rest of the stuff is the same as anything else. The 200R does not have a 4-pin fan. That is correct, it does not, and I wish it did. Bill Leatherland, hi Bill. He says, always giving good advice as usual, Carrie. Enjoy the Coca-Cola. I think I will. Always good to see Bill. Although I've never met Bill in person, he's somebody who's been a viewer for a very long time. He's been very supportive, and I have no doubt that the day that we meet in real life, it'll be like we've already known each other for years. Definitely consider Bill a personal friend, IRL, even though we've never met IRL. It's pretty unusual. Harry and Brian are tech bros. Rogue. No, you know what? When it's gone, just accept it, man. Just accept it and work with it, right? So if the hair's a big old bald spot, little bald spot's fine. But when it gets to a certain point, shave it off, man. Own it. Own it. Don't try and hide it. Be you. Diacom. The downside to being or going bald is not being able to have your lady run her fingers through your hair. The upside, she can rub your scalp anyway. I think the problem would be, you know, being in Arizona, you'd have to wear a hat or something. It'd be very easy to sunburn the top of your head. You know, the look works for Bruce Willis. David Glover says, I've added you on Facebook for 6 years now. Wow, that's very cool. God only made a few perfect heads and the rest he put hair on. Nice. That's from Country Boy 007. Yes, there are lots of great YouTube creators. Finding them can be difficult. So what I don't like happening, I don't like people to use my platform to advertise somebody else's platform. If you guys want to talk about other YouTube creators in the chat, that's fine with me, but please don't leave comments and links to other YouTube creators' channels. It's kind of insulting and disrespectful to me. This is my platform, I built it, and I didn't build it to promote somebody's products or services, whether they're a YouTube creator or a big corporation. That's not what my platform is for. But if you're openly discussing it in chat, that's fine. I don't mind that at all. So anyway, yeah. When I looked online at these cases, from what I saw, I knew I wasn't going to like them. And I told Tony, I said, Tony, man, I'm probably going to beat you up on, if you send these to me. He's like, no, when you have them, you'll think differently. I'm sorry. I want to think differently. I can't do it. But I do hope that the information I give you is taken seriously, and I hope that is utilized not only to your benefit, but to the benefit of anybody who buys the case. And that's my intent. I don't make any money. If I love the case or I hate it, I get paid the same. I have no motivation to be nasty or mean or nod my head and say yes all the time. All I've got is my honesty. That's all I have. And it may not be sometimes what people want to hear. And this is why I didn't want Tony to send me the cases. I had a based on what I saw, I said, it probably isn't going to be a favorable review. So why should we even go down that road if we know that from the get-go? He said, just let me send them to you. I said, you're welcome to send me anything you want at any time. I'm just telling you. This is my thought process on this. They will function as a case. They will do a job of a computer case. When it's all said and done, this will hold your parts, and it will do so within reason. There are better case designs, better quality that'll withstand the test of time better than this will, that are a little better thought out on behalf of what it's like to build. And it just falls a little short for me. That bottom filter, practically unforgivable. Christoph Esch has contributed €10. He says, have a Coke and cookies for the dog. Oh, cookies for the dogs. All right. Thank you, Christoph. Carrie, when you are so honest, where is your wife? That's none of your business, and I don't know why you think that's an appropriate question to ask me. We're here to talk about tech. I'm not here to bring up my personal life, religious, or political discussion. It's not appropriate. Is the Windows 10 October update file delete bug fixed? So the last I heard, Microsoft believed that they fixed it and released that to the Windows Insider program. That's the last I have heard. So if anybody has an update, if that status has changed, I've already installed 1809 on that machine back there that we built yesterday. There's nothing wrong with 1809. It works fine. But due to the file deletion bug and stuff, Microsoft has paused that update to address that concern, but never affected me, and it never affected anybody I know, including those who upgraded. I don't know a single person who actually was impacted by that. I just hear about these people on the internet. I don't know who they are. I don't know if they're lying or telling the truth, or I don't know. I'm assuming they're telling the truth, but they're not the majority. It's a very small amount of people that were affected by that. Nobody should have been affected by it. I understand. But I'm not withholding my upgrade because of what some dude I don't know on the internet said. I'm going from my own personal experience. 1809 works great for me and for everybody I know. Empty. Was there something else I was going to review today? I thought there was one other thing. No, I think that's it. I think we're good. If anybody is interested in having me build in one of these cases or another Silverstone case, as I already mentioned, because my contact there at Silverstone seems so willing and eager to have me review their cases. If there's, Silverstone has over 100 cases available for purchase. That's a crazy amount of design choice. And there's a good chance, I get a feeling, that if you wanted a computer built, I could probably get you the case for free, any case you wanted. I'm guessing from Silverstone. Certainly wouldn't hurt for me to ask, and you wouldn't even have to commit to it. If you said, look, I would build it if you could get this case, I'll reach out to Tony, see if he's interested. I may even reach out to Tony to see if he wants to provide the cases for the charity that we'll be building computers for. But not these cases. I wouldn't even give these to the charity. I'm sorry, I wouldn't do it. Remember, it's still reflection upon me. It's still a reflection about the quality of the work and the product that I provide. The customer is buying from Carey. They're not buying from Silverstone. I want you to remember that. It's not about your reputation, it's about mine. Joey's asking about build videos. I only video or build whatever customers pay for. If there's something you want to see, pay me to build it and I'll video it for you. I'm not like these other tech YouTubers that have sponsors that throw stuff at them. Everything you see here is real. I just don't create work out of imagination, which is what all these other tech enthusiasts do. I don't do that. Everything you see is real. So if you want to see something, then pay me to do it and I'll videotape it. It's very simple. Videotape, who uses videotape? There were a number of HP computers that were affected by the most recent Windows 10 update, the 1809. So this is a fault of HP, and this is very common. They have a little sort of shortcut bar that starts up. HP has a name for it. And that software was not written to follow the rules that Microsoft states. If you want your product to be compatible with Windows, you have to follow these rules. They didn't follow those rules. And it's a stupid little shortcut bar. So when people upgraded that have HPs, their HP's blue screened. So your whole office productivity, let's say you're self-employed, the update happened, and your computer blue screens. and you can't get back to work, all because of some little toolbar that pops up from HP that you didn't even want. You didn't even ask for it. I've seen this with RGB lighting software. I've seen people spend hours configuring their software. I've personally, on live video, had RGB software crash the whole computer. And I had to diagnose it live, only to determine that the version of the RGB software wasn't compatible with the latest version of Windows 10. And I had to go to ASUS's website and download the latest. That's a stupid reason to not be able to get work done. And it's an incredible waste of time. But that's not Microsoft's fault. That's poorly designed software from ASUS, and it's poorly designed software from HP. Let's point the blame where it belongs. There's plenty to blame Microsoft for. I'm not saying Microsoft has got nothing to blame, but they're not to blame for this. These are the third-party manufacturers marching to the beat of their own drummer. So you blame HP for your HP failure. You blame ASUS for your RGB software causing you to blue screen, because that's where the blame sits, not Microsoft. There are other things we can blame Microsoft for, but not those two things. What case do I recommend? It depends on your needs. For my business customers and for most customers, if you look at my videos on my channel, I think it'd be pretty obvious what case I recommend. Carrie, have you tried using Thready for streaming? No, because of the noise. It's still too loud. I have to change the cooler out on Thready to the new NMX Lictech cooler they sent me. I haven't had time to do it yet. It's no point in streaming with a computer that's as loud as I am. It's going to make my audio sound horrible. My intent is to get me there. My intent is to use Thready for streaming, but I got to solve this noise issue. And let's be frank, I don't need a 32-core machine or 16-core double-threaded. I don't need that for streaming. It's overkill. Very few people need a machine with that many cores. Very few people ever use that many cores. Very few people take their 4x4 SUV off-road, but they buy them. I need to get around to getting that done. That is my intent. What I'm trying to say is I could have built a machine for less than half the price that wouldn't have had these problems and would already be being used for streaming. There is a price you pay when you want to use the latest and greatest, and the price on this one right now is noise. Just keeping the darn thing cool. Did you try the Noctua for Thready? Not yet, no. So the Be Quiet Pure Base 600 with Catherine is recommending. I think you still have to use screws, and it's a special mounting for the drives. And if you lose that special mounting, you're out of luck. There's no reason for drives to not be toolless installs like on the 200R, be it a 3.5 inch or a 2.5 inch. And I recall that being an issue, just from memory, because you're not the first person to mention that. I believe that was an issue, was the way the drives I think you still have to use screws, and I think they're not even normal screws. They're special screws. You lose the screws, too bad. Things have to be industry standard, and preferably screws should not be required for drive installation. Be it an optical drive, a memory card reader, a hard drive, SSD. Screws should be optional to secure for shipping, but you should be able to just lock them in position with no tools required. And certainly no drive rails or drive caddies. Have I thought about a custom water cooling loop for Thready? It's very expensive. When you do a custom liquid cooler, you risk a leak. The coolant builds bacteria, so you need to drain and clean it out, and then just like a jacuzzi, you need to clear the bacteria out of it, which requires draining it, sanitizing it, and then put new fluid in it. And every time you do that, you risk a leak. It doesn't make any sense. And it doesn't guarantee it's going to be any quieter either. So no, I'm not a plumber. I have no interest in a custom liquid loop. Once again, no corporation will ever pay you as a working IT technician to do that. It's something only hobbyists and those disconnected with corporate America. If you have any experience in corporate America, you'd realize how ridiculous your recommendation is. Hobbyists are so disconnected from the real world. The recommendations they make are so preposterous, they don't even realize it. So you can just imagine how frustrating it is for me. That part of the reason I make my YouTube channel is to convey just how different the real world is from people sitting at home and feeding off of each other on the internet. It's a real shocker when you get a real job in corporate America and IT. If your basis behind what you're expecting to do for a living is based on what you see on most of the YouTube tech channels and most of what you read online. And I don't know why that is. I guess maybe people are too busy working a full-time job to come home and make videos and tell you about what to expect, versus the people who have nothing else to do to fart around and play around with liquid coolers and thermal compound and RGB lighting. It's all a complete waste of time and money in the corporate world, and you'd be fired for it. You would be fired if you did that. Again, or seriously written up and warned. Just so you know, if you're looking for a hobbyist channel, this is not it. This is reality. This is real corporate America. This is how I earn my living. This is what I've been doing for 27 years, and I continue to do it today. And when I first started in the business, I was much like you in the sense that I completely thought it was going to be something different. And it's gotten worse. The internet has continued to spread false information about impracticalities and disguised it as education, where in reality it is nothing more than a hobby. And last I checked, people don't make money in their hobbies. Otherwise, that'd be a business. You understand? A business is a corporation that makes money, and a hobby is something you spend money on to entertain yourself. Something like that. Does water cooling last forever? No. An all-in-one cooler sealed from the factory, the pump will die probably within 4 to 6 years. We'll call it 5 years. It'll die. I've demonstrated that where we had the Corsair Cosmos 2 case, very big case, and I installed a liquid cooler, and then years later the customer brought it back. Liquid cooler pump had burned out. It's all been documented here on my channel because I'm a real tech. And that's a real computer paid for by a real customer. And when he had a real problem, he brought it back to the real tech. So you can see the consequences of these decisions that you don't see on other tech enthusiast channels. Sometimes they review a piece of hardware, they never see it again. They might say it's a great piece of hardware, but they're not living with it day in and day out. And they don't know how it's aging. And when it fails and it breaks, or you buy it and you don't like it, there's no punishment or consequence for them. The real world doesn't work like that. Not if you want to stay in business, you better be there for your customer. And if your customer has to keep coming back, even under warranty, the inconvenience is enough alone to never buy from you again. So you got to be very careful over the parts you choose and the parts you recommend. It is a reflection on you. At least if you want to stay in business, which I would assume you'd want to stay in business forever, not just this year. So they're all, things you have to consider differently from a hobbyist. Now, a tower cooler, a fan-based cooler, the worst you have to do is replace the fan and replace the thermal compound. So if you had a cryo-rig, or a Hyper 212 Evo, or an Arctic freezer, the worst you have to do is replace the fan, and every once in a while replace the thermal compound. It'll last forever. You can't say that for any liquid solution. Liquid solutions are preposterous and impractical. In my opinion and in my career, like I said, you could lose a job if you thought, I'm going to do the company a favor and start installing liquid coolers. Yeah, you'll lose your job. Carrie, maybe you can go to massdrop.com and add a poll for the 200R. That's a brilliant idea, John. Thank you for that. Perry wants to know, I've got the same electric screwdriver as you. You have it on 3. Yes? Yes, my screwdriver clutch is set on 3. Mm-hmm. I find most cases now are for RGB rather than front bays and practical than for looks. It is a fad. So if this was 1975, you'd say I find more lava lamps than regular lamps. When I go to the furniture store, I see a lot more lava lamps than actual useful lamps. It's a trend, it's a fad. We've already been through this. I think this is one of the curses of getting older, is you just start seeing the same thing. It's like a wheel going around in circles, and you're just like, oh, here we go again. And it's so frustrating because when it was new and you never experienced it before and you're young, you think it's original. It's not original, it's stupid. And you can't, your brain hasn't matured to the point yet. You haven't had enough life experience yet. But I assure you, as you get older and you start seeing the same behaviors over and the same patterns, it's just like, God, does anybody have any original thoughts anymore? Does anybody care about what matters, or is it all about bling? Is that all anybody cares about? It's so shallow and a complete waste of time and money. But listen, it's your money and it's your computer, and regardless of what I think about it, doesn't matter, because I don't have to support you, and the consequences of your decisions will only affect you. They won't affect me at all. So don't let me stop you. You do whatever you want to do. By all means, don't listen to me. My customers pay me to listen to me. You get me for free. So you think that the information, many of you think the information is worthless. The customers that pay for the information consider it a bargain. So it's a very interesting psychological issue over perceived value. But my customers care deeply about staying in business and having no downtime and no data loss, because it affects their bank account. And it affects the reflection that they have as competent to their customers, right? That's put on me. That's my responsibility. It's not just one person sitting at home playing video games. This is a corporation with employees on the clock and customers waiting to be helped. When a system goes down, things get real. They get stressful, they get chaotic, people lose their tempers, and money is being lost. The longer it takes you, not only the more it costs them for your time, but the more money they're losing in productivity, both from the employees and from the customers. Very serious. It's very, very serious. If an EKG machine goes down in a hospital, they'll have a spare, but what happens when the spare goes? You better have the other one up and running before that happens. You have to remember, in the real world, whether we're talking strictly about financial loss or we're talking about a hospital and somebody's health, a dialysis machine goes down, people's lives are on the line. And while they will have a backup, you better hope that that backup stays running until you get the other one back up. You want to talk about stress and pressure? That's on you, brother. But at the same time, it's a good thing. It means that you have a reason to get out of bed in the morning. You're taking your skills and people are counting on you. You better get to work. Not just because you need the money, but because people are depending on you. I love that. If my job was to pump gas as a gas station attendant, and I didn't show up for work, anybody could do my job. So why would I need to bother? I love that companies depend on me. And I love when companies take my advice, follow what I suggest, and this helps create the chaos of unexpected downtime. We can't eliminate it entirely. Ooh, I guess that Coke is. I can't eliminate chaos entirely, but we can certainly do our best to minimize statistically the likelihood of it happening and the frequency with which it happens, and having a contingency plan ready to roll when the rarity occurs that the unexpected happens. We can get back up and running much, much more quickly, which is cheaper, more effective. It's better for the employer, it's better for the employees, and it's better for their customers, which means it's better for you as the tech. You get it? It gets real serious. Suddenly RGB lighting and overclocking and different thermal compound materials and case windows, none of that matters. None of it makes productivity increased. None of it has any return on investment, zero return on investment. If you don't understand ROI, then you're not a business person, you're a consumer, and there's nothing wrong with that. But this may not be the best channel for you. There are plenty of other YouTube channels for hobbyists. This is not one of them. I can't stress that enough. Troll McTrollington says, I'll watch the replay, I'm at work. Very good. See? People have jobs. Irving says, it's bedtime. I wish you a nice day. And all in the chat. Hey, Irving, always good to see you, my friend. Thank you for stopping in. Carrie, do you have more business customers or home users? When I started my business, it was all residential. The problem with residential customers, let's just title this the problem with residential customers, or residential versus business. If you're self-employed, do you want to work on Linux, a free operating system where the users are pretty technical and would very rarely ever ask you for any help? Or do you want to work on Macintosh or Apple products where the amount of work you can get is severely limited simply because they don't make up the majority of computer owners? Or do you want to work on Windows-based PCs, which most of the world uses? So what are the odds of you getting work from, this much of the population in Linux that are usually self-supportive and self-reliant, this much of the population for Apple products, or this much of the population for Windows? You go where the money is, right? So the more products there are in a certain category, the more likely you're able to find work. So without being a fanboy, if you just look at it objectively, the opportunity for work exists much more so in the Windows world than in a Mac or Linux, number one. Then you have residential clients versus business clients. Residential clients typically need a lot of tutoring. They typically don't want to spend any money. They want to keep it as cheap as possible. They want to take something older and make it last. The older something is, the slower it is, which means more time of you waiting. Say a virus scan. Somebody's got a 10-year-old computer, they don't have any money, or they don't want to spend it. Either way, it's the same result. So instead, they're forcing you, well, they're not forcing, you're accepting it, to sit and wait for a process that should take 10 minutes on a modern computer, takes an hour and a half. Let's just say, on an older computer, 5400 RPM hard drive, a Celeron with 4 gigs of RAM, and they're running Windows 10 on it. It's painful, painful. You're not going to be able to give that customer a bill for your time because it'll exceed the value of the computer. That customer will curse you out. That's no way to sustain your business. When you upset a customer, they'll tell everybody. But if you make a customer happy, they'll tell a couple friends. So I don't want to work on that. I put a Craigslist ad up a while back, and I said, if you live in Phoenix and you want your computer fixed for free, I'll do it live on my YouTube channel, and apart from any parts, I'll do the labor for free. And you know, the only people who reached out to me to take up the offer were people that had old computers, 10 to 15 years old, sitting in a closet, that they broke, and they said, one day I'll get around to this. Oh, here's a guy that'll fix it for free. So I learned if I'm going to do that again, I better specify it's got to be a computer within, if it's more than 4 or 5 years old, I'm not going to work on it. It's just too slow, too slow. People are saying, it's got Windows XP. I'm not working on it. And because I didn't specify that, do you want to attract that kind of customer? Is that what you want? Do you want to go on Craigslist, a place where people go to find a bargain, and do you want to advertise there and get bargain shoppers as your customers? Think about what you're doing. Those aren't the customers you want. You want customers who appreciate the value of your time and your skill and your expertise, that they can rely on you and not take advantage or disrespect you by suggesting that you have nothing else better to do. And then when the bill comes, they think that's negotiable, unacceptable. So be careful where you advertise. So getting back to my story, when I first started, I was all about residential. And then at one point, I had over 450 residential clients in my Rolodex, most of which I only heard from one time in an 18-month span. Man, that's a lot of people, and I was barely making ends meet. Then I got a business client, and the business client was getting some pretty sizable bills, and I thought, there's got to be a way that we can make it cheaper for the client and give me an income I can count on. So I came up with this idea. This is all original from me. I'm not saying I'm the first one to think of it, but what I am saying is I came up with this on my own. Other people have come up with it too. And that is, when you shop at Costco, you buy in bulk, you get a discounted price. Since this customer keeps calling me and they continue to have these upgrades and features added, it's not things are breaking, they just keep adding and expanding their needs. It seems to me they need about 10 hours a month. So instead of charging them, let's say $125 an hour, if they pay me the 10 hours up front, I give it to them for $100 an hour. Now I have income I can count on. And go, look, we'll do this month after month. We'll call it a retainer. And month after month after month, I'll tell you what, we won't nickel and dime it. We won't count minutes. If we use, let's round it, say we used 8 hours this month and we use 12 hours next month, fine. Let's just keep it where it is. In fact, if we use 5 hours this month, 5 hours next month, 5 hours the next month, and then 20 hours the next month, we're fine. Everything's fine. We don't need to change anything. On the other hand, if it consistently is 5 hours, then let's revisit the retainer. But anything under 10 hours isn't really worth a retainer. You could just pay the regular rate. It's just not worth it to me. Because what I'm doing in exchange for the retainer, not only am I giving you a discounted rate because you're buying up front, but when you call, I will stop any other work I'm doing and prioritize you if it's required. In other words, if a retainer client calls me and says my server's down and I'm busy with another client, and that other client's not a retainer, that other client has to wait. I have to stop what I'm doing and get their server back up and running right now. But if that retainer client says, I got a new printer I need installed, I'll schedule that. That's not an emergency. That's not interfering with production. You continue to use whatever printer you've got, unless it's their only printer. You understand what I'm saying? You have to triage what's an emergency versus what's something that can wait. And if it's an emergency, then the client who has the retainer comes first. They're prioritized. So that gives the client more incentive to keep that retainer moving, keep it renewed. That one client, that one business retainer can represent dozens and dozens of residential customers. And you need dozens and dozens of them because you very rarely hear from them. And you're unlikely to be running old equipment in a business. You're unlikely to have to repeat the same work over and over or to spend any time tutoring a business. Residential customers, constant tutoring. What's a backup? Where's my data? How do I do it? What is this? What is that? How do you do this? What do you do? And while they're talking to you while you're working, it slows you down, it's distracting, and it removes the focus, and you can make really simple mistakes and forget, I left my tool, I got to turn around, I got to drive back and get my tool, whatever. That rarely happens in a business. If you and the employee are like, hey, did you see the game last night? And the boss walks by and he knows he's paying both of you and neither one of you is working, come into my office for a second, we need to have a chat. You see the difference? So there's a new term that came up over the last 10 years or so called MSP, or managed service providing. And so what a managed service provider does is they come in and say, for example, you've got a business, you've got a handful of employees. I'm going to take care of your IT. Car-ey will be your entire IT department. I will deploy and maintain your antivirus. I will ensure your backups are being done, and not just automate it. I have to verify that the automation's working. I have to test it. You can't just trust that the automation's working. You cannot trust technology. You have to constantly monitor it. I will do that for you. When you get a new printer and you need it installed, I'll do it for you. When printer drivers have to be installed, I'll do that for you. When email doesn't work, call me. When anything doesn't work, I'm your guy. I'm your entire IT department. When you want to install any software, don't. You tell me you've got some new software and you have me install it. Don't just go installing stuff willy-nilly. Because when you screw up the whole network, suddenly that's my problem. So let me do it. Let me do my job. You do your job. I don't know what you do for a living. You focus on that. Let me focus on keeping you up and running. When you have that symbiotic relationship from a business owner that appreciates the value of what you're bringing to the table, you don't need those residential customers anymore. Work smarter, not harder. You look back through the comments and see what I missed through my soapbox speech. Do your customers have a spare system in the office? Generally, it depends on the customer. Some customers do have spare systems. I find most customers don't have spare systems for long. It's just a matter of time before they hire somebody, sometimes even a temp. And they go, here, just use the spare computer. Now they don't have a spare anymore. What is important in a business is that all the computers are configured the same and they all need to look alike. You want to avoid inter-office politics of somebody having a better computer than somebody else, and that's not fair, and how come I don't have it? So when everybody has a Corsair 200R, they don't know who's got an SSD and who's got an NVMe. They don't know that because they all look the same on the outside. They know who's got the newest computer, but that's all they know. And they're all configured with the same software. So in a worst case scenario, in order to prevent an emergency on my part, generally speaking, these offices, every office I have has employees that work different shifts at some point. So that not all of the employees are working. Sometimes they do, but for the most part, there's always an employee that's off that day or comes in later. So in an emergency, you get up, let's say your computer crashes, get up, go move to the other employee's computer for the rest of the day. Call me or email me and tell me your system is down. As long as you can get back to work, because all the same software is installed and all the data is stored on the server, you get right back to work. Sure, you're not at your desk for today. You're at somebody else's desk. Maybe the tape dispenser and the pen and the phone number, your desk phone is a different extension. It's just for the day. You keep working. Everything you need is there. I'll come in after hours when I can get out of the traffic, and I will fix your computer. Even if I have to take it back, bring it home, fix it, and then take it back. I do what it needs to be done. In the meantime, this is why it's important for all computers to be identical. I don't need end users installing any custom software or downloading anything. I've got something starting to happen with Spotify. I'm starting to see some of my younger clients' employees downloading Spotify without permission from me. And I haven't made a big deal out of it yet because it's a safe application and it's not interfering with the network. But they just don't understand why these rules are in place. And if they take the whole network down because of a Spotify update, it comes down on me. And I'm not going to, deny them administrative privileges to installing software because we just haven't reached that point. I'd rather not do it because that means every little minor thing they try and do, it's going to result in my phone ringing off the hook for simple things. Maybe a software update to Malwarebytes. Go ahead and apply it. Well, I can't. It needs a password. Once you tell them the password, you might as well just give them administrative access because now they're going to do it anyway. So there's a little give and take, right? I'm not going to make a big deal out of it yet. I'm kind of grumbling under my breath about it. But I've seen this before. It's all been happening, you know. People were putting Napster on the damn computers and downloading music illegally. And that reflected on the business. If the recording industry of America was going to sue somebody, it wasn't the employee. It was who was paying for the IP. Who was paying the ISP? Whoever owns that IP at that time of the infraction is responsible for it, which means the owner of the company is held liable for the damages and fees and court costs over the actions of an employee. It's my duty on IT to recognize that, remove it, and make the boss aware of it. Like I said, this is not like Linus Tech Tips. This is real. This is real. Real consequences. And that's not the, and I'm not saying Linus is a bad guy. I have no issue with Linus. He makes a different kind of video than I make. And so when people compare us, it's a silly comparison. You've got an enthusiast versus a real working technician. Anybody who likes technology is good in my book, right? Anybody who wants to promote technology, wonderful. But don't you for a second think that that has anything to do with the real working world, because it doesn't. It's great entertainment, it's interesting, it's shot very professionally, much more professionally than my own, but it's very shallow. It's very impractical most of the time, and it does not reflect what it's like to be a real working technician. And as long as you understand those differences, then you should be able to enjoy all of the content without thinking less of anybody. I don't think less of Linus. I just feel like if I don't say that, then you guys don't know the difference, most of you. So I have to keep repeating it over and over and over again. It's two different things: to work on your engine in your garage and work on an engine that belongs in an ambulance that somebody's life can depend on. Two different things. Andreas Kennestrom has contributed 500 Norwegian krona. Carrie, you're absolutely right that this is an addiction. Thank you for getting me addicted. I'm now building two for a friend. I tried the MCsoft program. Works fine, but I seem to get more false positives. Anything you've noticed? I haven't used MCsoft in a while. I still continue to recommend them. I'm mostly a Malwarebytes guy combined with the Windows Defender software, the free antivirus, and Malwarebytes is the anti-malware. So you work those two together. MCsoft actually does both, but I don't know about false positives. I haven't. I belong to a forum with a lot of other techs, and I haven't heard anything about there being any particular issues with false positives. So 500 Norwegian krona is $61.38 US dollar. Well, thank you for that, Andreas. Did you ever get a case badge? I'd love to send you one, or two, or three. Let me get a case badge so people know what we're talking about. What I try to do, again, YouTube doesn't pay very well. And I just don't want people, I want to build a community. I don't want to sit here like a virtual panhandler. I want to say, why don't we all get in on this together? The more contributions and support I get, the more videos I can make and the better the production quality can be. So rather than just say, give me some money, I want to give you something back, right? I want you to feel like you got recognized for your support. And I thought, what can I do differently? People have t-shirts and hats, and it's just nonsense. They fade and they tear, and maybe I'll get into that at some point. So what I'm doing right now is I have these custom aluminum case badges. This is what it looks like. It's got my autograph on it. It says inspired by Carrie Hulsman. There's double-sided sticky tape on the other side. These cost me about $2 each to have made, and then it cost me an additional about $2 to mail them outside of the USA, and I think about $1 75 cents to mail them within the USA. So I asked for a minimum $20 donation, so at least there's something left over to go to the channel. You know, we won't even talk about the cost of envelopes and toner and the time to forget all that. I mean, it adds up. It's minuscule, but it adds up. So I said, look, anybody who contributes $20 US or more, I'll return the favor and happily send you one of these badges for every $20 you contribute anywhere in the world. Shipping's included in that. You'll get the badge. But here's the, Rishika says, here's some money. Thanks, Rishika. I don't like being accused of being a panhandler. It's not what I'm doing. The videos, somebody's got to pay for them. Somebody's got to pay for the camera, the tripod head, the memory card, the rechargeable batteries, the lenses, the different lenses, the lens cleaners, the, oh my God, the HDMI cables and the Stream Deck and the computer itself, which you guys finance the computer that I'm using right now, along with Ready. And then there's $170 a month for my internet bill. And the time I'm spending making these videos, I'm not helping any customers, right? So where's the revenue coming from? You don't see any sponsorships. You're my sponsor. That's what you are. I realize not everybody can afford to contribute financially, and that's totally fine. It's totally fine. But if you want to, it's greatly appreciated. And I'm very happy to share that and extend my gratitude by mailing you a case badge or multiple case badges for each $20 contributed anywhere in the world. But in order to do this, don't contribute through this live chat. I guess it's over here. Don't contribute that way because YouTube gives me no record or receipt of your contribution. I mean, if you want to give a couple bucks here and there, but if you want a case badge, you need to contribute using the donate button at tech-vets.com. And here's the difference. When you donate through tech-vets.com, I get your money immediately and I can refund it. YouTube only takes about 3%. I'm sorry, PayPal. It's going through PayPal on TechVets, the donate button. PayPal takes about 3%. When you donate here through YouTube's Super Chat, YouTube takes 30% and it may be up to 60 days before I see that money. It is nowhere segregated from my YouTube payment. I don't know how much of that came from contributions and how much of that came from YouTube Red and how much of that came from regular watch minutes. It's just one lump sum. Here you go. I have no way. If YouTube is ripping me off right now, there's no way for me to know. I can't refund the money and I have no record or receipt that you ever sent it. So when you use the donate button at tech-vets.com, I get the money instantly, less is taken, and I have a record and receipt that I can refund or refer back to. So no matter how much or how little you donate through tech-vets.com, I will respond to you typically within 24 hours, regardless of the amount of the contribution, and I will say thank you. Now you have my personal email address, which is different from the email address at TechVets. And it's that way intentionally. So when people start hounding me for tech support, the people who have given me something, I want to give back to. The people who have never given me anything and they just reach out for free technical support, I don't have time for them. I'm busy. I'm not going to make somebody wait who's paying to prioritize somebody else who's never paid. It's not that I don't appreciate your viewership. It's just there's only one of me and I have to figure out how to balance my time. If I'm answering technical support questions and helping somebody who's never given me a dime, and I'm making somebody wait before I get to them who has contributed, how is that fair? That's all. So these are what the case badges look like, and I've got lots and lots of them. I don't anticipate they're going to sell out because I should be able to get them regularly now. I should, and I have plenty in stock. So please use tech-vets.com. And I really do appreciate your support. We really are a community here. Otherwise, it's me talking to myself in my kitchen, which make me kind of crazy, right? And this isn't TV. This isn't one way. I'm here so that we can talk back and forth with each other. Try that on TV. I want to be attainable. I want to be reachable, but especially attainable and reachable to the people who financially contribute. Now, you can contribute in other ways by sharing the videos, sharing tweets, and helping to raise the video views, raise the brand awareness, to get me new subscribers and new viewers. That's always appreciated. It's another form of support. Unfortunately, it would not be it would not be a sustainable business model, since it's unverifiable, to spend money to mail case badges out to people who claim they've shared the video. You just do that out of the kindness of your heart. That's how you support me, and I appreciate that. And the channel continues to grow and expand, and as it grows and expands, I can make more videos, better quality sound, more cameras, more camera angles, better software for editing, maybe even hire editors. And the channel will grow and you can have more of what you like. But as long as I have to self-finance it and I have to do everything on my own, I'm just one person. There's only so much I can do in a day. And when the videos cost more to make than YouTube pays, it's a hobby. I'd like to make it a business. And I can do that like any other business with getting customers and support. But I don't want customers here. I want community members. I want a give and take. I want it to go both ways. And I want us all to be friends, and I want us all to get along, and I want us all to support each other. And I think anybody who doesn't like that can leave. What do you guys think? Sharon Idles contributed £5. Sharon's a frequent contributor. Thank you, Sharon. I've got something in my eye that is really bothering me. Rare Apple 3 says, I have one of those case badges on my computer I'm using right now. That's awesome. Thank you. Dark Cipher Lucius says, I bought 2 of those badges. Awesome. Thank you. $170 for internet. Well, it's also TV. It's not just my internet. Although the price did go up. I was paying $132. So what I have to do is I'm going to have to call Cox Cable and ask to speak with their customer retention department, because they're the only one who can authorize a cheaper rate. And I think that's what I did last time. Well, we give you a cheaper rate for 6 months. That must have expired, because my rate went from 132 to 150, 168, I think, 168. I rounded it to 170. And I think 60 to 70 of that is the internet, and then the rest is the TV. It's just basic cable. There's no paid channels. There's no HBO. There's no Showtime. It's just like, it's a tier above basic cable, because I want Comedy Central, and I want my wife likes Lifetime and HGTV, and I don't think those are part of the basic package, so I had to go like one step above. It's a ridiculous amount of money to pay. And then I have a DVR, and they charge me a certain rental for that every month, which is ridiculous. And then I have it in the other room, and they have a little decoder box now because they scramble the signal, and that's free for the first 24 months. Afterwards, it's $3 a month. You used to be able to take the cable, plug it right into the back of a cable-ready TV, and you'd get basic cable. They decided that too many people were getting TV that they weren't paying for, so they're requiring you now to have a descrambler, and everything is scrambled now. They don't call it a descrambler, but that's what it is. They're basically doing, there's a word for it, and it's, I can't think of it. They're encrypting. And if you don't have the decryption box, even though the box does nothing, as far as like, there's no DVR in it, all it does is decode. It's just one more thing you have to add to your entertainment center. It's one more thing you got to plug in. It's 2 more cables, right? Because you got the cable coming in and the HDMI coming out of that, going into your TV, versus just having the cable go directly into the TV. You're paying the power usage for that from your power company, plus you're paying the cable company a monthly rental, and it's one more thing to break, and it's one more thing to dust, and it's one more thing to look ugly on the entertainment center, and it's one more thing to add to the rat's nest of cables, all because the cable company wants. It actually may not be on the cable company. It may be on the television providers. The shows, the networks themselves may be requiring the cable company to do that. Possibly. It's all greed. It's all corporate greed, either way you look at it. I'm not happy about it. I watch YouTube for free. And I find the content is often more stimulating and intelligent than what's on any network broadcast television show, barring Rick and Morty, Family Guy, and The Big Bang Theory. The goat says, Carrie, I recently built my new PC. It worked for a day, but when I turn it on, I get no signal. Can I send it to you for a repair? Because I trust you. What state do you live in, the goat? Where in the United States are you? William McKinney says, I always donate through Tech Vets when I can. I proudly sport my case badge on the front of my 200R. Yes, William McKinney is a name I recognize. He's a very generous individual, and you know, sees the value in what I do. So I thank you. I appreciate that. Have you thought about using streaming TV services? Yeah, I don't like how slow they are, and my sister streams, and I find it so annoying, so annoying. I'd rather just not watch TV, to be honest. I'd rather just watch everything online on the internet. Just hook a computer up to a TV, and let me just load everything that way rather than go through a Roku. I have an Amazon Fire and I just don't use it. I'll load VLC up and load files locally, but even that's just like. I have no doubt that streaming television is the future. It's just a little premature right now to be an early adopter, right? Basically, you'd be an early adopter if you're doing that now, and it's too inconsistent. The quality, it's just not reliable. When I want to relax and watch TV, I don't want to have to fix why my streaming is not working. That's not how to relax. I already done that all day. Reviewing, playing, and more RPM has contributed $5 Canadian. Hi, Carrie. I came to see the case you are using. You can rewind the video, just like any other video, right now, and you can see the cases behind me, and if you missed that part. Sharon says, I got the case badge on the front of my white Phoenix Nova case. As I recall, you got that like in some incredible amount of time, right, Sharon? Didn't I like mail it and you got it like 3 days later in England? It was crazy how fast sometimes. The post office, sometimes it gets stuff there quick and sometimes it seems to take forever. One of my customers says his case badge, even though it was addressed correctly, arrived at his neighbor's house. Rich says streaming on CenturyLink uses 20 meg of your 40 meg download speed. Wow. Wow, wow, wow. Robert Jones says, Carrie, what I've always liked about your channel is the way you explain your information. Robert, you were a moderator. Thank you. I'm looking for a response from the GOAT on where he's located. I'm in the UK, sadly. Yeah, unfortunately, it would be cheaper for you to fly me out to the UK and fix your computer in person than to suffer the shipping rates. I'll have to pay an import fee, and when I ship it back, you'll have to pay an import fee back. Not to mention the likelihood of damage to occur going that distance. So you could send it to me and spend that money, and then when the box shows up, it starts making all these weird sounds because parts are broken inside. Nothing I can do. Ideally, you find somebody locally you trust. I would love to help you. But the only reasonable way for me to help you would be to fly me out, put me up in a hotel. I'll pay for everything else as far as like what I need. I'll pay for my food. I'll pay for my transportation. And I have a passport. And I would love to make a video out of it. So far, nobody's taken me up on that offer. But I had one customer invite me out, but not for any work. That's just kind of weird. But if you need work, if you need an actual job done, a computer built or repaired, and you're willing to fly me out and put me up in a hotel, it doesn't have to be a fancy hotel. It could be the cheapest hotel there is. It could be, you know, it's just not an Airbnb. It's got to be a hotel. When I get back to the hotel, I like my privacy. I like to stay up late. You know, I like to watch videos and they're noisy and it can disturb other people trying to sleep. But I'll pay for my food, I'll pay for my transportation, you pay for the parts, provide me the tools. Getting tools through TSA is a pain in the butt. But basic, you know, you probably already have them, screwdriver. If not, we can hit a hardware store. Tools are cheap. I'll bring my video camera. We can video it. We can make a YouTube video out of it. I would love that. Can you fix through video conference? I'm reluctant. First of all, it depends what the problem is. If a customer has a bad power supply or a bad stick of RAM, I'm not going to be able to do that remotely. Anything that requires a diagnostic or BIOS, not a diagnostic, anything that requires turning a screwdriver, like replacing a power supply or pulling out RAM, something I can do in seconds, is profoundly difficult to explain to a customer on a machine you've never seen before, what to look for. It's very hard to get the right lighting, even if the camera, even if the customer has a camera. Most of the YouTube videos, when I ask a customer, like make a video or something, they're so dark and hard to see and the camera doesn't sit still and it's out of focus. It's so difficult. If it's a machine I've worked on before and I'm familiar with it, like within the last 12 months I've worked on it, then I can connect remotely and I have pretty much understanding that everything hardware-wise is fine and I can move forward with that, depending on the problem. But I think it's vastly irresponsible to log into a stranger's computer remotely and start working on it. If his hard drive is failing and it's going click, 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 I can't hear that remotely. And in what little life he's got left, I will kill it, most likely. And then any chance for data recovery now just went right down the toilet, and the price to recover it just skyrocketed, all because of impatience. So you're better off finding somebody locally. Andreas has contributed again on 200 Norwegian krona. He says, we know that nothing is free for you. I thought you shared the page with another guy. Won't he get some of the money if we use PayPal from Tech-? Oh, Mike Smith. Mike Smith. Okay. Mike Smith and I haven't done a TechVets broadcast in a long time. The vast majority of people using the donate button at TechVets, like 99.9% of the people, probably 99.999% of the people, are doing it from me directing them to it from YouTube, not because they're listening to a TechVets podcast. So if there's a contribution that comes from somebody whose name I don't recognize, sometimes I'll ask, did you intend for this to go for YouTube or did you intend for this to go to TechVets? If it's intended to go to TechVets, it's split between Mike and myself because that's the right thing to do. But again, that because Mike and I have not been very active in the last couple of years with TechVets, we still do the show when time permits, but it's about 2 shows a year is about all we're doing right now. We don't make any money from it. Mike has been very, very busy. I have been very, very busy, and we need to focus on our paying customers first and foremost. And of course, Mike has the Mike Tech Show, which he already does basically for free already on top of his huge workload. And he does that religiously, like once a week for the last, I don't know, 700 weeks. He's been doing it a long time. So Andreas, thank you for your continued support. And yes, Mike is a very nice guy and a very smart guy. So the last thing I want to do is take any money from him. Yeah, that would be pretty stupid to ruin a friendship over a couple of dollars. GGG says, gotta go. Well, maybe that's what the GG stands for. Have a fine day, Carrie. Oh, thank you, GG. You too. Like I said, Andreas, if you don't have a case badge and you'd like one or a couple of them, please reach out to me using the email address at TechVets. Let me know who you are. Remind me that you're that guy. And send me your mailing address. And I need you to write it so I can copy and paste it because I don't know where the line breaks need to be. And I'll be more than happy. You know, you want 2, 3, 4 of them? Just tell me. Be my pleasure to give back. I really appreciate your support, more than you know. Can you imagine Can you just imagine for a minute if every subscriber gave me 25 cents? So 25 cents would be $1 for every 4 subscribers. And I have, how many subscribers do I have? And I'm not saying 25 cents every month. I'm saying 25 cents a year. You gave me 25 cents a year based on how many subscribers. Oh, I gotta go to my dashboard and see how many I have today. 204,673. Let's just do some real basic math. Calculator. 204,673 times 0.25. That'd be $51,000. $51,168.25. You know what? I could live off of that. For an annual salary, I could live off $51,000. I won't live extravagantly, but I would have enough to pay my car payment. Wait, I don't have a car payment. I paid off the car. I'd have enough to pay my house payment, my car insurance, my cell bill, my internet bill, my TV bill, pay down the credit cards. That's a killer. Got to get rid of those credit cards. I could replace my kitchen tile maybe. I could get some new counters maybe. I mean, I wouldn't be taking any extravagant vacations or making any extravagant purchases, but that would be the sole source of income I would need to just do this full time. Just that little tiny amount. So when one person makes a contribution like Andreas just did, at 25 cents per subscriber, how many people did he just represent with that one contribution? That's why I appreciate that so much. So I don't know that thank you says it really enough of just, I mean, could you imagine if everybody was that generous? I mean, I'm basing this on 25 cents. What if everybody gave me $1 once a year? That's over $200,000 a year. I could buy a new house. I could buy a studio. I could hire an employee to do my editing. But I do what I do because I like it. I don't do it for the money. But I still have to pay the bills. Gary moved to Farmington, Missouri for $51,000. You could live like a king. I think I would do pretty well in Michigan on $51,000 too, especially northern Michigan. Okay. Douglas is taking off. Hey, Douglas, good to see you. Dave Murray says it's 5 in the... Oh, he's got to get up at 5 in the morning. Okay. Always good to see Dave. Dave joins us from Scotland. Scotland! Bill Bruce says, whatever you do, do it to the best of your ability, and if you're not having fun, you're not doing it right. Well said. Well said. Sometimes you have to do things that have to be done, and they're not fun, but attitude plays a big role, for sure. Bikey Beckers has contributed £1. Thank you, Bikey. I know you had mentioned about doing some editing for me. I want to get you onto my Google Drive where I can, actually, you and I need to talk about maybe getting you some content. Let me see what you can do. James Zender has contributed $20. He says, this is thanks for your help. Very kind. Thank you, James. And Ben DeCure, once again, has contributed $4.99. And thank you to Ben. I appreciate that. Is James Zender a moderator? No? Well, he is now. Mikey says, I just sent my 25 cents. That's actually more than 25 cents. A pound is it's worth more than $1, US dollar. So if it was 25 cents a year, you just paid for about 5 years with that $1, with that £1. Crazy, right? Carrie, you make tech look easy. I've been doing it a very long time, so I see a lot of the same things over and over. It's very, so I look at somebody who plays piano professionally for 20 years, and they make it look so easy. So when you put a lot of time into something and you repeatedly do it over and over and over again, you naturally, it becomes kind of second nature. It's very difficult, for example, for me to diagnose a computer I've never seen blindly, having the customer describing it to me over the phone. If I can log in remotely and see it, or better yet, if I have it in front of me, something just happens I can't explain, and I'm so quick, and I'm drawn instinctively to where I need to go. It's faster, it's quick, quicker is the same word as faster. It's more efficient, and I can get more done in the day. And I do my best when I demonstrate my repairs. A lot of times what I do is I slow down and I try to explain what's going through my mind right now and why I'm thinking this is where I want to start or that's where I want to teach what I'm doing, what the logic is behind what I'm doing. So I have a video called How to Repair a Dead Computer that goes on, and it turns out to be a bad RAM module. And there'll be people that'll say, well, I would have tested that first. Okay, it's not a challenge. It's not about me saying, look at how much smarter I am than you are. I'm trying to teach people. You've got to remember, if you're starting a video to teach somebody and you jump to the very first thing you think is wrong and you're right, the lesson is over. There's not a whole lot of educational content in that. But if you say, I'm going to try this, and I'm going to try this, and I'm going to try this, and the first couple things you try don't work, that adds to the dimension of the interesting nature of the video. So then the question comes, well then, did you do it on purpose? Kind of. In that video, I didn't know it was the RAM, and I could have started with the RAM, and I'm glad I didn't. I started elsewhere for reasons I explained, and it turns out that the reasons I explained didn't apply on this build, but it did apply for the definition of the video of education. And I like the viewer to want to guess. I want the viewer to go, why don't you check the RAM? Check the RAM, damn it, check the RAM. And I'm over here going, well, maybe it's the video card. I mean, I'm getting you involved, right? And then I get to the RAM and go, oh, it was the RAM. And they go, I would have checked that first. Well, then you're missing the point. If every time I worked on a computer, I fixed it with the first thing I thought was wrong, there's not a whole lot of educational value there. You'll just go, he's magical. He just knows. I don't just know. I follow a logical deduction, and I explain why so that you can do it if you want to. I wasn't born with this knowledge. I was taught, and I've practiced and practiced and practiced, and to this day, it's still practice, right? Every computer's different, and that's what keeps me interested, and it keeps me from getting bored. I could live well in Wisconsin. That's where Subaru Mike is from. I've never been to Wisconsin. I've never stepped foot, interestingly enough. Harry says, hi, Carrie, I just got here. How are you? Fantastic, Harry. I'm great now that you're here. Good to see you, buddy. Peter Brooks says it's $1.63 US for each pound. So for 25 cents a year bike, he just paid for 6 years. Or he paid for 6 people out of 200,000. Think about that. Think of how deep that is for just 25 cents. Some people will say you're not worth 25 cents a year. Okay, why are you here? Troll McTrollington says, I sent you directly over PayPal so you don't get screwed on fees. Very thoughtful. Thank you. Thank you so much. Peter Brooks is corrected. He says it's $1.36. That sounds better. That's still Very close. It's 1 person difference. It's 1 25-cent difference. I mean, it's more, but if you round it to each 25 cents. I would rather help by giving you $20 a year. Winston has been very supportive. In fact, everybody you see in blue, you guys, you're all supportive. And many of you that I have not yet recognized as blue doesn't mean you're not. It just means I haven't recognized it yet. Sometimes you need to let me know, hey, I contributed, I didn't get blue. Don't be shy, let me know. A lot of things going on in the chat. A lot of things going on up in here. I'm not purposely omitting you. Becky says 2 people for 3 years. There you go. We can play with the math all day. Patrick says, no, we check the reset switch first. Yeah, right. The computer I built for the gentleman in Montana, which was a video that never quite got finished, he emailed me the other day and said he was getting random blue screens. And I said, do me a favor, yank a memory module out. Just yank one. Turn the computer off and unplug it. Yank a memory module out. Does the computer still crash? No. Okay, here's a video on how to download and run memtest86. I want you to do that. He goes, it passes. I said, great. Now shut the computer off, take the memory module out, put the other memory module back in. He says, okay. Did it pass the test? Yes. Did you put it back in the socket that it came out of, or did you put it back in the socket the other? I need you to test the different sockets. He goes, I put them both back in and it passes. So what could be the problem? I go, maybe you just needed to reseat the RAM. Something called chip crawl sometimes occurs. When you turn the computer on, heat expands, and when it gets cold, it contracts. And over time of that heating and the contraction and heat, the chip can work itself out of its socket just enough to not make a connection on one of the many, many pins on a RAM module or a chip. That may be all it was. And he wanted to spend all this money to ship it to me. And I'm like, I just don't think it's necessary. If you need to, that's fine, it's your money. But I think if you're willing and you go through these procedures, it's probably something very simple. That's the benefit of having me build a computer for you or building one for yourself, is this self-reliance that anybody can work on it, including you if you're willing. I think the problem's been resolved. I'll find out, but I think it's fixed. I like the new mic, it cuts off when you don't speak. That's not the microphone, those are settings for a noise gate in OBS, the software I use for streaming. Carrie, have you found any leftover Corsair 200Rs? Yeah, they're still easy to find. I think I've got about 5 or 6 spare ones, but I think they're gonna go quickly. It's really not a matter of finding them, because no matter how many I find, once they're unavailable, what am I going to do? So the sooner I find a replacement, the better. Just trying to find Corsair 200Rs doesn't solve my problem. I need something I can reliably find with ease and rely on. I can't stockpile a bunch of 200Rs. It wouldn't make any sense for me to do. I don't need a place to put them, and they're not for me, they're for a customer anyway. So customers are not as passionate about cases, generally speaking, as I am, especially the business clients. As long as it meets, I mean, if I gave this to a business client, it'd probably be fine, right up until the switch broke or the fan went. Then it would be my repair to deal with. But if that didn't happen, they wouldn't care. Martin Cooning says, hello from Dunlangar, Ireland. Enjoy the Craig? I don't know how to say those words. It can get cold here in Montana. Nothing wrong with cold. Besides computers, do you have any other hobbies in your free time? I've got a lot of, so many interests, guns and shooting and cars. Not shooting at cars, those are separate things. I enjoy cooking, and a gentleman who's just in the chat here, Shane Schellenberger, has encouraged me to go to Improv, to participate on stage doing improvisation. It's such good therapy for me. I'm really having a good time. And I'm very nervous. It's weird. I can sit here and talk to, there's 526 of you watching live all over the world. I go to a little improv where there's only 15 people in this building, a little tiny room, 15, and I'm nervous and I'm sweating and I gotta be funny, I gotta be funny, I gotta be funny. It's a lot of pressure. And this is good therapy for me, you know, I'm quick-witted, so why not go on stage and use that to my advantage? Comedy didn't work out. I don't like stand-up comedy. It's too brutal. But improvisation, I even surprise myself with what I say. Sometimes I think about it and go, you know what, that was pretty funny. It's too bad there weren't many people around to hear it. So that's a great resource for me to practice that and get better at it. And, you know, improv is a sort of a team sport. Well, not sort of. Ideally, you don't just be funny, but you open the door to let the other guy be funny, or the other gal, the other person. So you share the experience on stage. You don't have to be the funniest one. Sometimes you have to be the generous one and set up the scenario so the other person, you know, you open the door so the other person can walk through it. So that's been sort of my most recent interest. Sarah Sims, do you recognize me? Yes, you are a moderator now, Sarah. Thank you for getting my attention. Andreas, can I get blue? Absolutely, you can get blue. My apologies for missing you. Superman G's contributed $2 from the movie RoboCop. I'd buy that for $1. Yeah, that took place in Detroit. You know, I know that movie. I want to make sure that everybody who's contributed is a moderator. Lurchicus is now a moderator. Don't know how that got by me. Reviewing, Playing, and More RPM is a moderator now. Bikey Becker should be a moderator, yeah. Ben DeCure should be a moderator, yes. Superman G is a moderator, right? Yeah. So I think I got everybody. Donnie Seegers contributed $5. He's a moderator. He says, I'm generally working when your show is live, so it doesn't allow me to participate in it as much as I'd like to, but I'm here listening and I appreciate all you do. That means a lot to me, Donnie. Thank you. I know we do what we can. I will try to do more shows, you know, Fridays and Saturdays and Sundays when people are generally home from work. But the problem is, you know, that's also when my wife is home from work and she'd like some time with me. So that it can be a little bit of a challenge sometimes, but we'll try and get this figured out. Especially if I can make YouTube my main source of income, then treat it more like a job and maybe take a weekday off and work a weekend, you know, try and balance that out too. But everybody's on different time zones too. Let's not forget, we have people watching all over the world. And the videos are always made available for you to watch at your convenience, but it is fun to have the interactive part of this, which can only happen live. Tomahawk Assault says, your video on UPCs was very helpful. Unfortunately, they're a must-have where I live in Orlando due to the frequent lightning-induced brownouts we have. Yeah. When you gotta have them, you gotta have them. But I see a lot of people that have them that don't need them. I think you need Toastmasters for the nerves. I thought about Toastmasters. So when I go on stage for my live presentations at generally they're senior centers, and I invite the audience to ask questions, I never know what anybody's going to ask. Like on TV, all the questions have already been determined, and the people they're going to pick in the audience have all been determined before the show airs. What I do is real. When I'm on stage, I don't know who's going to ask me what. I might be challenged. I don't know. I might be misunderstood or misconstrued. That gives me an opportunity to address that. It's very improvisational, and in very much the same way as Toastmasters. The difference being, Toastmasters to me doesn't seem to have any purpose. You get up there and you talk about something for the sake of talking about something. What I'm doing is I'm trying to educate. So I'm driven under that ultimate goal, which is I'm not here to practice talking in front of people, and I'm not here to be funny. I'm here to convey information in a way that is interesting and digestible to the ordinary person without speaking a lot of tech speak, a lot of tech jargon, and make the plain English. Make it, even if it's not technically accurate, because that would be too complex for a novice to really grasp. Let them get the gist of it, use an analogy of something they do in everyday life, and then apply it to the tech. And if they're interested and they want to learn more about that, they can study that individually on their own. The important thing is I don't want any one specific person of the audience to monopolize my time on stage. I want to give everybody a chance and try and give quick answers, but thorough enough that they should at least understand the gist of it. William says the difference in improv is you're face-to-face. On stage, you're brave if you can do it. Bravery has never been a problem. Oh, Zen Carter, yes, I recognize you. You're a moderator. Thank you for speaking up. William Dawson says, lightning season is the busiest time of year for electronics repair shops in Florida. Absolutely, absolutely. We get a lot of electrical storms here in Arizona. With the dry climate, lightning storms, very common. I was going to say popular. They're not popular, but they're common. If I donate to anyone, it'll be here, as no other channels offer the level of... I think I know where you were going with that, Zen. Thank you for your kind words. Steve says, we should get Kerry to Wisconsin. I would love to shake his hand and pick his brain. As long as you don't pick my hand and shake my brain, we'll be okay. I have a couple of friends that live in Wisconsin as well. Tony Vento wants to be a mod. You got it, Tony. You're a mod, buddy. Juan the Panda says, I'm 18 and I'm thinking of going into IT. Any tips? No, I think that you do what you enjoy. Follow whatever education or degree would be required for you to achieve your goals. Let me give you an example. Let's say I want to accomplish something. Whatever it is. I want to make a certain amount of money a year, or I want to do a certain thing for a living, or I want to move back to Michigan. Whatever that thing is you want to accomplish. The very first step is deciding what it is you want to accomplish. Okay? You got to see yourself there. The Rick Miller at Kids at Hope says you've got to time travel. You've got to see yourself in the future. I don't agree with that analogy. It works, but I share it because maybe that analogy works better for you than it works for me. Now that you know where you want to go, you've got to figure out now, how do I get there from here? So if I'm just going to the grocery store, I've already made up my mind I need to go to the grocery store. Now, how do I get from where I am to the grocery store? That applies no differently than I want to get into IT, and this is what I want to do in IT. I want to do network architecture, or I want to do a server admin, or I want to do SQL database, or I want to do website development, or I want to do blah, 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 blah. Then you study for that, and you guide yourself down the right path so that you end at that destination. That's how it works. A lot of people who are aimless simply don't know what they want to do or where they want to be, so they don't know what steps to take in what direction. So the very first step is you've got to make up your mind. What is it that I want to do? What is it that I want to accomplish? Once you've figured that part out, then it's just a question of how do I get there from here? And that's what you focus on. And for everybody, it's different depending on what your end goal is. If my end goal is to make $250,000 a year, how do I do that? So if my end, and I got to be specific. I don't want to make $250,000 a year at some point. You got to be specific. I want to make $250,000 a year between now and 12 months from now. Now that I've got that goal, how do I set that forth? And I want to do it while being moral and ethical. How do I do it? Do I drop everything? Do I drop YouTube? Do I drop and I change careers entirely? Can I build on what I have? Whatever that decision is you make, you now have a destination, and your brain is the GPS to get you there. But you've got to put a time frame in. Got to give yourself not only the goal, but a reasonable amount of time. Not an unrealistic, but a reasonable amount of time to get there. That's how it works. And with that mindset, there's nothing you can't do. There's nothing you can't accomplish, and there's nowhere that you can't be. Very empowering to have the right frame of mind in life. Or sit around and be a victim. It's your choice either way. Henry Ford had a famous quote. He said, whether you think you can or you think you can't, either way, you're right. Justin Henderson's contributed $20. Hey, Justin, there's a moderator status for you. Thank you so much for your support. If you want a case badge, you need to reach out to me and let me know with your mailing address. Again, use my email address over at tech-vets.com, and be happy to send you one. Without a record of it, like I said, the super chat, I get no record of it, of your transaction. If you donate through TechVets donate button on tech-vets.com, tech-vets.com, then I get a record and I email you and I say thank you and I ask for your address. But when you do it this way, I don't want you to think you're not eligible for it. It just, there's no automation and you sort of have to go through a few extra steps. But thank you, thank you, thank you. Ryan says, I'm trying to get Carrie to see me. Well, I did. Is that what you wanted me to see? Well done. Rare Apple 3 says, well said, Carrie. I'm in college for computer science. Excellent. Does it make a difference from one cooling fan from a 3 cooling fan CPU? Is your computer crashing? What problem are you trying to fix? Have you tried to build your own AR-15? Yeah, I've built my own AR-15. Yes. William McKinney says, Carrie, I just sent some pics of my finished PC. Thank you so much for sparking my interest back in PC building. You rock. No, you rock. That's awesome. I love to see that, and it makes me so proud. You guys, whenever I get those, I feel so proud. My pride just swells, and I'm like, yes, yes. Empowerment. Feels amazing. Fulfillment. It's a drug. Zen says, I forgot to give you my address for the case. Remember, don't give me any personal information here on YouTube chat. Send that in a private email to me. Geo Sam says, you're still live streaming? I went to the bank, then I went to the grocery store, and I stopped for lunch. I came back home, and I'm still live streaming, and I haven't eaten. Glad you had lunch. Somebody's asking if they can be mods. It's not something you ask for, really. If you've contributed to the channel, it's one way to be a mod. Financially contribute. If you haven't financially contributed, then you have to be a name that I recognize over the course of time as being polite and professional and supportive in the chat, and it will naturally happen in time. What is the verdict on the Silverstone cases? Well, generally speaking, this is from Jay in the chat. Generally speaking, Silverstone makes a very high quality case. This is an exception. This should not bear the name Silverstone, in my opinion. Something this cheap and flimsy should bear a different name so as not to dilute the value of the Silverstone name. I cannot recommend the case. But I do recommend other Silverstone cases, not these. Carrie, have you ever seen one failed component lead to another fail? Of course, all the time. All the time. Have you ever shot a Gatling gun? I couldn't afford to shoot a Gatling gun. Can you just imagine how expensive that would be? 100 Swedish kroner contribution is $11.22 US. Where did that come from? Oh, Frederick Lundholm has contributed 100 Swedish kroner. He's a moderator already. Thank you, Frederick. Thanks for your continued support. I really, seriously, I really do appreciate that. Jay Toy is saying goodnight. Good night, Jay Toy. Thanks for joining us. Jur Vaping says hello from Amsterdam, Holland, the Netherlands. Welcome. Colin says, how is it that when people rob banks, they get a prison sentence, but when banks rob people, they get bonuses? That's because a corporation doesn't have a soul. You can't imprison a corporation. You have to have something with a soul to imprison. Have I ever gone fishing? It's been a long, long time since I've been fishing. It's very peaceful, unless some jerk in a speedboat, scares all the fish away and is inconsiderate and unthoughtful. I like to go out on a boat, though. I've been on a boat many times, not often enough. When we went to Michigan, we did some kayaking, and very peaceful, very, very relaxing, very therapeutic. Highlight of my trip. My recent trip back to Michigan. Carrie, what are some workstations you would not want to prep the motherboard on? No such thing exists. Harry says, I just got a Samsung 250 gig NVMe SSD. You're going to love it. You are going to love it. Be sure to download the Samsung Magician software. Make sure you got the latest firmware update. And make sure you use the Samsung NVMe driver instead of the Microsoft driver, which the Samsung Magician software will confirm to you on its homepage. Did I mention Justin Henderson contributed $20? I can't remember. If not, again, thank you, Justin. I covered that already. Owning a boat equals BOAT, break out another 1,000. I've heard boat owners are happy twice. When they buy the boat, they're happy, and when they sell the boat, they're happy. I like to rent a boat or be friends with somebody who owns a boat. Dodge Challenger is the name of the person in chat who says, I built several weapons platforms, which is addicting. It is. Now I watched your videos and I built a computer in a Corsair 200R case, and I built a computer in a Corsair 100R case using gigabyte motherboards. I was worried it would be addicting as the weapons were. It is, isn't it? Although at the end of the day, less money, really. The money for ammunition never ends. William says, knowing me, my last words will be, well, that didn't go as planned. Yeah. All right, I think we're going to wrap this up. It's about 3:45 here, and I pretty much set out to accomplish what I intended to in this video, which was to, give an honest and objective view of these Silverstone cases. I want to thank Tony for sending them to me, despite the fact that they're built to a specific purpose, and that purpose is one that I can't agree with it. I can't agree that it's okay to dilute the value of your brand name to hit a price point. I think you can make a quality product at a fair price that you can be proud of, and that the owners can be proud of. And don't go to the $25 crowd. Stay away from the cheap people. They're the most troublesome people in business. The people that are the bargain hunters will make you, generally speaking, there's always exceptions, they will make you work harder. And then they will try to negotiate the bill, and they will just be pains in your butt. And you're like, well, I just don't have much work. I'm self-employed. If the phone rings, I got to take it. No, you don't. No, you don't. Why would you do that? Don't do that to yourself. Those people will take advantage of you as long as you give them permission to. Stop giving them that permission. Silverstone, stop don't listen to the people that want cheap nonsense cases. Don't listen to them. You're above that. You're better than that. Make a good quality budget case. Period. End of story. Don't cut any corners. Don't dilute the value of your brand by being appealing to the lowest common denominator. You're better than this. I know you are. And if you're going to do it, please use a different name. Don't call it Silverstone. I will remind everybody once again, if you are looking to have a computer built, you'd like me to build a computer, if you have a computer you need repaired, specifically if you're in the Phoenix area, I'm in a situation right now where I would be willing to take on your repair for free as far as labor. But you have to get the computer to me, and shipping a computer is very expensive. So if you're in the Phoenix area, or if you're somebody that's willing to pay for the shipping and wait, I don't know why you would. I'd love to make the content showing real repairs for real customers by a real technician, keep it all real. Just trying to incentivize you to get involved, and love to meet you and work with you. And if you're looking to have a computer built, I would love to build it for you and make a video out of it. Geo Sam has contributed $10. He says, I stumbled upon your channel about 9 years ago. Before then, I didn't think about building my own computer. It was even a thing. And he says, thank you for that. Well, thanks, Geo Sam. That's, again, another reason why I do what I do. Creamy Corn Cob says, have a great one, and I'll email you on the case thing. Yes, please do. I look forward to talking to you. Superman G says, thanks. Everybody's saying thanks. Thanks, you guys. You guys rock. You really do. Patrick, thanks for another great stream. Thank you, Patrick. The stream is generally as good as the audience is. It's been my experience. When there's members of the audience that are kind of being hecklers, it affects the whole stream. So thank you to guys in blue for keeping it civil in there, just like you always do. I really do appreciate that. I talked about moving to potentially a subscriber early access program. There's a part of me that really doesn't want to do that. I really like to keep this open and free. I really want to. And I think as long as, like today, lots of great contributions came in today. If that's the new normal, then I don't have to do that. I don't have to shift over. I can make that work. I know the problem is conversion. There's a lot of people that I'll lose that won't shift over to that other platform. That other platform will bring along with it expenses that I'll have. So yeah, I'm still considering it, but I mean, if this can be the normal stream and this kind of contributions and donations are made on a regular basis, then I don't need to do that, and it can be all inclusive for everybody, and we just deal with the trolls. With you guys doing such a great job anyway, it really wasn't a problem today, and as I recall, it really wasn't a problem yesterday either, because you guys are doing such a good job. And maybe that's the direction we need to go. I don't know. I'm still trying to figure all this out. But with your help, we're going to get there one way or another. So thank you so much for all of your support, all of your kind words. It's just rare on the internet these days. And this needs to be a safe space, not just for me, but for you guys as well. The world is too easily quick to demonize people they don't know or to stir trouble because they're bored and have nothing else better to do and they find entertainment from it. And as long as we support one another and we look out for each other, there's no reason this community can't grow with more like-minded individuals to exceed the subscription levels of even the biggest YouTube channels, because why wouldn't anybody want to be a part of a community like that? So for that, I appreciate your views, your support. I appreciate your kindness for everybody who's in the chat, and whether you contributed financially or you just contributed vocally, virtually, that appreciation is there just the same. And it just wouldn't be a channel without viewers, right? So thank you again. I will see you all again tomorrow. Until then, bye for now.